Before we call our formal session into order, Commissioner Fritz would like to read a proclamation on behalf of Arbor Day. Commissioner Fritz.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. Is anybody here to be honoured with the Arbor Day proclamation? If so, come up, please. Whereas pioneers entering the treeless plains of the Nebraska Territory were encouraged by the State Board of Agriculture to set aside one day to plant trees, and so April 10th, 1872 was declared the first Arbor Day in the United States. And whereas J. Sterling Morton, the founder of Arbor Day, believes that other holidays repose upon the past, Arbor Day proposes for the future. And whereas Arbor Day is an opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to preserving our urban forest and planting trees for our children's children to enjoy, and whereas Friends of Trees has planted 500,000 trees and native plants since being founded in 1989, and whereas community volunteers, staff and partner organisations work year-round with Portland Parks and Recreation's Urban Forestry Division to preserve and enhance the urban forest so that all may benefit from more than 220,000 street trees, 1.2 million park trees, and innumerable private trees. And whereas for the 40th consecutive year, Portland will be recognised by the National Arbor Day Foundation with a Tree City USA Award. And whereas Arbor Day is a time to celebrate the importance of diversity not only in trees of the urban forest, but the roots of our communities. Now, therefore, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, Oregon, the City of Roses, does hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2017 to be Arbor Day in Portland and encourages all residents to observe this day. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, everybody. This is the Wednesday morning, April 19th meeting of the Portland City Council. Carla, please call the roll.
Fish.
Here.
Saltzman.
Here.
Udaley.
Here.
Fritz.
Here.
Wheeler.
Here. Before we go to the consent, I would request that we move item number 380 to the beginning of the agenda. Please read item 380.
Proclaim April 19, 2017, Jefferson High School Basketball Day.
Commissioner Saltzman.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, we're very honored today to have the Jefferson High School boys basketball team here who won the state 6A championship. And they did it in an unprecedented manner. They had one loss all season. So we're really proud of them. And we have a proclamation, which I'll read, and then we'll maybe get a picture with the team. Whereas on Saturday, March 11th, 2017, the Jefferson High School boys basketball team defeated Clackamas 70-67 to win the Oregon State A state championship title. And whereas the Jefferson boys basketball team proved that they are in a league of their own by winning the Class 6A state championship title the first year the team competed in that division. And whereas the Jefferson boys basketball program has previously won 8 state championship titles at the Class 5A level, and whereas the City of Portland would like to recognize Ty Warner, Sage Lay, Amari Stafford, Dylan O'Brien, Devontae Banks, Romeo Akil, Isaiah Mitchell, Kamaka Hepa, head coach Pat Strickland, Marcus Shahonis, Syshawn Strickland, Kellyan Vance, Gino West, Robert Ford, Thomas Miles, Trevon Richmond, and Solomon Campbell for their historic win in the 2017 6A Boys State Championship game. And whereas the Jefferson students continue to inspire the community and set a positive example with their good sportsmanship, hard work, and dedication. And whereas the Jefferson alumni continue to give back to their school and community. And whereas the city celebrates the 2017 championship win by Portland's own Jefferson boys basketball team. And whereas the City of Portland recognizes that this championship would not have been possible without the support of parents, teachers, coaches, administrators, and community members. Now, therefore, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, the City of Roses, do hereby proclaim April 19th, 2017 to be Jefferson High School Basketball Day in Portland and encourage all residents to observe this day.
I just
So-
want to check, did we get everybody's name? Excellent, good.
Okay. I apologize if I didn't pronounce it right. Coach Strickland, did you want to say a few words, or do you want to just have a picture, team picture with City Council?
Come up here and stand up.
Yeah, you can come up there.
Good morning and congratulations.
Good morning. We appreciate you guys having us here. It's our pleasure to be here as well. I just want to thank these young men for the outstanding year that they put forward. And like you mentioned, it couldn't have been possible without our student body, administrators, parents, and the community in general. Glad to be here.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't we come up and do a picture? Yeah, we gotta go.
So I know we have a number of people here for the 9:45 time certain, but we can't start that yet, so why don't we go into communications before we get to the 9:45 time certain. We'll do consent when we get to it. First item on the communications. Oh, wait, I forgot. I have to read this, sorry. And by the way, thank you, everybody, for your patience. These are new microphones, so there'll still be some adjustment, and I apologize if it's hard for people to hear. And if it is, just raise your hand or something, and then we'll start trying to adjust the volumes to make it a little easier for everybody. The purpose of council meetings is to do the city's business, including hearing from the community on issues of concern. In order for us to hear from everyone and to give due consideration to matters before the council, we must all endeavor to preserve the order and decorum of these meetings. To make sure that the process is clear for everyone, I want to review some of the basic guidelines, which I hope will help everybody to feel comfortable, respected, welcome, and safe at the meeting, and also ensure that decorum is maintained. There are two opportunities for public participation during the meeting. First, we have an opportunity for people to sign up for communications to briefly speak about any subject on which they would like to speak. These items must be scheduled in advance with the clerk's office. Second, people may sign up for public testimony on the first readings of reports, resolutions, and ordinances. If you sign up, your testimony must address the matter being considered at the time. Please state your name for the record. We don't need your address. If you're a lobbyist, please disclose that. And if you're here representing an organization, we'd appreciate hearing that as well. Individuals have 3 minutes to testify unless otherwise stated. When you have 30 seconds left, the yellow light is going to flash, and when your time is done, the red light will come on. Conduct that disrupts the meeting, for example, shouting or interrupting other people's testimony or interrupting during council deliberations or speaking off topic will not be allowed. People who disrupt the meeting face possible ejection from the meeting. If there is a disruption, I'll issue a warning that if any further disruption occurs, anyone who is disrupting the meeting will be subject to ejection for the remainder of the meeting. Anyone who fails to leave the meeting after being ejected will be subject to arrest for trespass. If folks would like to show support, please do a thumbs up. If you want to express you don't support something, thumbs down. Thank you, and let's get started with council communications. Carla, please call the first item.
Item 365, request of Jim D. Wittenberg to address council regarding traffic control and affordable housing.
Good morning.
Mayor Wheeler, Commissioners, it's good to see you all again.
Thank you, sir.
I kind of wish I wasn't here this morning because I don't feel very well. I haven't for a month or so, but did you get these things at all?
Yes.
Okay. I want to declare first that my sister is a landlord. She has some apartments out in Lake Oswego where she lives, and she would be pretty much like this woman I read in the paper this morning, who, her name is Diane Cassidy, and she says that she doesn't need government regulations getting in her way of her property management decisions. So she doesn't need you people to be there, and I'm sure my sister doesn't need you either. And these are our properties, they are our business, and the government is taking away the control we have over our own business. And I just look at that and I said, how could anybody be stupid enough to say that to start with? But that's the way so many property managers are in this area. They think that they can do anything they want to with their properties. They don't have to abide by government regulations and rules, and they're just getting in the way. Now, does that sound like someone that we have in the White House right now? These regulations? I don't know. I don't feel very safe with him. In the middle of this thing here, I want you all to know that I realized I'm getting along in years when, I knew Tom McCall, and I knew Wayne Morris, and I knew Mark Hatfield and Bob Straub and Edith Green and all these people. They were my generation. They're the people I worked with back then, and they were all rather pleasant people. They said hello to you. They said, how are you doing today? What's going on in your life? And I don't hear that much anymore. I don't feel that people in the public office care about me. I just had a birthday last week. I'm 78 years old now, and I'm getting pretty creaky. Things are not working very well. My knees or my shoulders, and it's hard to get around. Finally, these people are legends to some of you, but they were real people to me. I knew Wayne Morris. I sat down and talked with him. I knew Tom McCall. I was in his hotel room, and I went to Miami Beach, Florida for the Republican National Convention with him. And he does a pretty good bunny hop there in the bars at night. He was a good guy. He's a nice guy, and he laughed with us, and he always asked me, are we doing okay for you? Are we doing what you need? And I thought that was very gracious of him. Mark Hatfield would meet me in airports, and he'd meet me on Capitol Hill, different things in a restaurant, sit down and talk with me. These are things that you don't see much anymore. It's politicians so often are just making rules and sticking it to us and stuffing their paychecks in their pocket, and they go home. If you'll take a look at some of these things, I put them out here. Is that it? Okay, that's the end. There are some things in here which I want you to see towards the end. The outsider. It's a great thing when people make unpopular decisions when they're in office. I really appreciate that. That means that they're real people. And the unpopular decisions will get people in trouble. Let's get them way back. And we're looking at this part right now. Since we're not very popular, I asked last night at the dinner table with my family, which was a bunch of people, we couldn't come up with one thing really good about city council. Now, one thing they said is only April, well, maybe even June or July, we'll have something good. So you're not very popular right now, kind of like the Congress, and you ought to work on that a little bit, maybe talk it up a little bit. I'm going to miss you people because I'm not going to see you much anymore. I'm in retirement. I am there because of health right now. And I just want you to know that it's important to a lot of us what you guys do up here. If you make bad decisions, we all pay for it. And my friend over there,
Mr. Wittenberg, I'm really sorry. We've got a bunch of people signed up.
That $20 million to put in that Portland building, because we could use it to shore up the budget a little bit.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys in the future sometime.
Hope
Okay, bye.
Be well. Thank you, sir. Next item, please.
Item 366, request of Ken Thrasher to address council regarding College Possible Portland.
Sure, yes.
And 367, request of Paige Hill to address council regarding College Possible Portland.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Mayor Wheeler, Commissioners, I'm Ken Thrasher. I am the board chair for College Possible, and I'm going to move this back a bit, in Portland. And I'm here to give you a little bit of a report card along with Paige Hill, one of our program managers. And with us today is Emily Williams, a student who is now in college, having transitioned out of high school. Excellent. And we want to thank you for your past support of College Possible last year in the education funding, and we would ask that you consider us again this year within that discretionary education fund. We've grown this program. We're in the 4th year. We started with 140 students in Portland. We are now over 900 students being served through the expansion of the program and investments made by the city and many other individuals. We're having tremendous results with our program. We had an average ACT increase of 26% last year for our students. 96% of our students earned admission to college, and over 80% of our students continued on to the sophomore year, and we're working on that other 20% to continue. We will graduate students at a 10-to-1 ratio to their low-income peers, who are pretty much all first generation, 90%. 73% are student of colors, and 71%, interestingly, are women. So we are having great results, and for the students in that cohort that enter college, we'll graduate students at a 4-to-1 ratio to those students because of the excess of that near-peer mentoring model. So I'll just tell you, the individual success, preparing these young people for the workplace of tomorrow, and reducing social costs is our goal. We have great metrics, and I'm going to let Paige and Emily tell you a little bit more about it, so they can use a little bit of my time.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Paige Hill. I am a former AmeriCorps coach with College Possible at David Douglas High School, and I'm a current staff member. And I'm going to be quick because I want Emily to talk as much as possible. But we ask our coaches to be 1/3 teacher, 1/3 friend, and 1/3 mentor to our students. And I think that's a really rare and necessary role in the lives of young people. We're so proud of our results, and those come from a lot of really hard work on our curriculum and lesson planning, but I think most of them come from those relationships with students. So Ken just talked about our 26% ACT score increase. When I was a coach at David Douglas, the day before we took an exam, I had this really awesome lesson that I had worked so hard on. I think it was on quadratic equations or something really complicated, and I got the sense that my students were really nervous to take the test. So I threw out the whole lesson plan, and we all wrote raps together about our favorite ACT strategies. And the next day, my students set the record of the highest ACT score increase in the history of College Possible Portland. And those raps are still hanging on my desk. They were really good. So I love working for College Possible because of our results, but mostly I do it because I think we insert people into young people's lives in a really positive way, and I want to pass it over to Emily to talk about that a little bit more.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Oh, sorry, good morning. Thank you, City Council, for allowing me to be here to testify for the College Access Program College Possible. My name is Emily Williams, and I'm the oldest of 4 children, and I'm a first-generation college freshman at Portland Community College. I am also proud to be a third-year member of the College Possible program. My aspirations of graduating college with a master's degree in political science and one day working as a member of Metro would be impossible without the support of these amazing leaders. I'm here today on behalf of College Possible requesting that we be included in next year's proposed budget. This morning, I'll be addressing why I believe College Possible is such an amazing program and how it has affected my goals in college education. Most students are confused and uncertain about what to do, preparing for college and entering it. As a young adult, it's hard to find people who can help you get ready for life after high school, especially when you're like me and you're the first in your family to go to college. I have benefited from multiple components of the College Possible program. For instance, they granted me access to amazing, dedicated leaders that are willing to advocate for me and my college journey, a journey that seemed foreign and scary without any help. Through the program, I learned about resources most first-generation college students never know how to find. Furthermore, College Possible gave me the opportunity to train and study for college placement, college enrollment, and scholarships. All this work came with enrichment activities and coach mentoring that I continue to receive as a college student. Without their training, I might not have transitioned so easily into the college experience. The safety net of having a community has benefited my career. Once again, I'd like to thank you guys, for the City Council, for allowing me to express my values.
Emily, can I ask you a question? Do you have any family members here today?
Yes, I do.
Could you introduce them?
Yes, my grandmother, Cindy Williams, she's been a security here for about the past 10 years. She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. And my little sister, Chloe, who's also trying to get into college in the next couple of years. She's amazing.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate that. And congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Thrasher. Next item, please.
Item 368, request of David Kiff Davis to address council regarding targeting of journalists and whistleblowers and activists by the city.
Keith called me last night and asked if you would give permission for me to explain why he's not here. I know that's unusual. It'll only take me a few seconds.
I'm sorry, I cannot extend that courtesy.
Okay,
That's
you're denying him the right to be here.
No, he's signed up, and if he's here, he has 3 minutes.
He's going to get arrested. So he's not here because Commissioner Fisher's staffer.
Well, listen, then he'll have to resolve that in the courts or wherever. I'm sorry, this is a disruption in violation of council policy. If you continue, you will be asked to leave. Please sit down.
You're denying his right.
Sorry. Next item, please.
Item 369, a request of Farrell Rickards to address council regarding proposed cuts to the street cleaning program at the Portland Bureau of Transportation.
Good morning.
Hey, Mayor Wheeler, Commissioners, how are you?
Thanks for being here.
I'm Farrell Richards, I'm the Business Manager for Laborers Local 43. I want to start. Turn the microphone on. I wanted to start off by thanking you for the public budget hearings and for engaging in difficult conversations around the budget. It's really appreciated. Street cleaning, I've spoken in front of this body before, and I worked in street cleaning for 10 years with the Portland Bureau of Transportation. Currently, street cleaning is 13 men and women that work the day shift, 14 men and women that work the night shift. They keep the streets clean, the bike lanes clean, the catch basins clear, the ADA ramps clear and accessible, mow and maintain green spaces throughout the city, clean and maintain stairways throughout the city. And they're the first responders in snow and ice, and those teams include some of the most skilled snowplow drivers and anti-ice truck drivers. So just feel like it reaches into so many parts of our community that sometimes just the idea of street cleaning seems like a cosmetic, something that could get shuffled off, and it goes a lot deeper than that. I think it's really crucial. Wanted to touch as well on the mounted patrol. So that would be the police officers, the horses, and the stable attendants. And it really goes to community policing because they're out in the community interacting with folks. They're visible and available to citizens, and depending on the scenario, what's going on, they're approachable, and folks really like that. They've been around for 142 years, since 1875, so there's a lot of historic value there. I I just found this online, the history of the mounted patrols. I shared that with you. And it's got some great stories in there, like Tom and Jerry in 1911, the gray wagon horses. They were trying to figure out why there was a water faucet that kept getting turned on. So they surveilled the building and discovered it was Tom the horse actually reaching over there with his teeth and opening up the water and getting a drink. So they ended up having to shorten his tether to keep him from doing that. I thought that was a pretty interesting story. Finally, I wanted to speak about preschool. It's an invaluable community service. It's a community value, and the preschool program itself is an investment in Portland's families. The structure and the staff are already in place, and there's no limit to the amount of diversity as far as the staff. It's already one of the most diverse staffs among Portland's workers, and there's no limit to the amount of services and the diversity of the families that can be served. And I just think like keeping that and trying to like increase the use of it rather than shying away from it now is a really important Portland value. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you for being here. We will quickly do the consent agenda items that have not been pulled, and then we'll move to the time certain. It's my understanding, well, first of all, 375, I am pulling back, and we'll return that one to the office and bring it back at the request of the Bureau, so 375. And it's my understanding 376 has been pulled onto the regular agenda, so we'll take that item up later. Have any other items been pulled?
That's all the request I had.
Please call the roll.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The consent agenda is adopted. The next three items, why don't we read them together? We'll have to vote separately on them, but if we could read 370, 371, and 372 together in sequence, please.
370, authorize a competitive solicitation and contract with the lowest responsible bidder and provide payment for construction of the Columbia Boulevard Wastewater Treatment Plant Renewable Natural Gas Facility Project for an estimated cost of $9 million. 371, authorize high-pressure gas service rider agreement with Northwest Natural Gas Company for a renewable compressed natural gas fueling station at the Columbia Boulevard Wastewater Treatment Plant for an estimated cost of $1,941,830. And 372, authorize interconnection agreement with Northwest Natural Gas Company for transporting renewable natural gas produced at the Columbia Boulevard Wastewater Treatment Plant for an estimated cost of $1,050,000.
Commissioner Fish.
Thank you, Mayor, and we have a very exciting announcement and presentation today, and I have some opening remarks. I would like to, though, invite forward Bureau of Environmental Services Director Mike Jordan, Supervising Engineer of this project Paul Sudo, and Director of the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability Susan Anderson. If the three of you would come forward as part of our first panel. Mayor and colleagues, in celebration of Earth Day, I'm very pleased to introduce an innovative venture to turn waste into clean energy while earning money for our ratepayers. When I explained this to my 13-year-old, he told me I should describe it this way. We're going to be turning poop into power. With Council's approval today, the Bureau of Environmental Services will begin construction on a new project to capture, clean, and convert 100% of the waste methane from the sewage treatment process into renewable natural gas. According to our friends at the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, this will be the city's single largest greenhouse gas reduction project to date. This project is a triple win for our city. Instead of burning excess methane, as we have always done, the city will capture this methane and convert it to clean fuel, dramatically reducing the carbon emissions from our sewage treatment plant. This clean fuel will be used to replace more than 1 million gallons of dirty diesel truck fuel that the city uses every year. And the excess fuel will be sold through our partnership with Northwest Natural. We're conservatively estimating that this will generate upwards of $3 million a year. This means we'll be able to pay back the entire project's cost in a few years and then have a dedicated source of funding for our ratepayers. With us this morning again is Mike Jordan, Paul Sudo, and Director Anderson. Welcome, and I'll turn it over to the three of you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, good morning. Thanks for having us today. For the record, my name is Mike Jordan. I'm the Director of the Bureau of Environmental Services. We have a number of speakers today, and so my job is just to give you a little bit of brief context about the plant and what we do, and then Susan will have a few remarks, and Paul will take you through the details of the project and the ordinances that are before you. We treat approximately 28 billion gallons of sewage at the Columbia Boulevard Wastewater Treatment Plant each year. That's over 120 gallons per person per day that is treated at the plant, returned as clean water to the environment. But in the process of doing that, we also recover other resources. We currently treat the biosolids, and they're transported to Eastern Oregon as a soil amendment for agricultural purposes. We also currently recover about 77% of the biogas, the methane, if you will, that comes from the process. We use that to generate electricity for use at the plant, also to generate heat for the bioprocess that we use. And we also sell another portion of it to a local manufacturer. But that still leaves about 23% of the methane that's produced by the process that basically gets flared and emits carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Over the last few years, we've studied a number of alternatives how to effectively, from a triple bottom line perspective, utilize that excess methane. Of all the options we've looked at, the highest return on that investment in a triple bottom line sense, by far, is the use of this methane in the way that we're proposing today. It would allow us, from a ratepayer perspective, as Commissioner Fish has noted, to get a significant return to the ratepayers from an economic perspective, an environmental benefit for reduced carbon emissions, and then a social benefit, chiefly for reducing the harmful health effects of diesel emissions in our community. So this is really, as the Commissioners noted, a triple bottom line kind of approach. You have three ordinances before you today. One, to build the facility itself at the treatment plant. Second, in a partnership with Northwest Natural, to put an on-site fueling station at the plant for compressed natural gas. And then lastly, a monitoring facility which will allow us to be able to inject that gas directly into Northwest Natural's infrastructure for its distribution and sale of a renewable product. A couple last points before I turn this over and give up the microphone. One, our partner, I can't say enough about how essential the partnership with Northwest Natural is to make all of this happen. Without being able to access their infrastructure, we would not be able to receive the economic benefit. We would also not be able to realize the health benefit of distribution and displacement of diesel fuel in a broad sense to the community. Secondly, there has been discussion of this project for some time, both at council and at the staff level. And one of the real unknowns has been, is this market really real? Can we really get the return on this investment? Council should know that we recently went through an RFP process. We received 7 proposals from different quote-unquote off-takers of the fuel. We've awarded to one proposal, Clean Energy Fuels, who will buy our renewable natural gas product and sell it on the energy market via traceable credits. It's very important that that term be there because those credits do two things for us. They allow us to get a premium price for the product, but they also allow us to assure through a contractual arrangement that our product displaces diesel fuel and goes into the transportation sector. So with that, in closing, a couple of thank yous. I want to thank Susan and BPS for their partnership. Without their assistance and advice and research that they've done over the years, we wouldn't have gotten this far. Danny Grady on BPS staff is the person who's worked most closely with us. But I want to particularly thank Paul Sudo and Vu Han, who have been working on this project long before I got to the Bureau and have really done yeoman's work to get us to this point. And with that, I'll turn it over to Susan.
Good morning, Mayor.
Morning.
Council members, Susan Anderson, Director of the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. I'm really pleased to be here. This is a project that's been a long time coming. I think we talked about it when I worked for Commissioner Saltzman several years ago, and I think it's a great project in terms of pushing forward on the mayor's new 100% renewable energy goal. I've worked with Northwest Natural Gas for, more than 20 years now, off and on, and different projects. This is by far my favorite one. It showcases the company's commitment to sustainability. It showcases their commitment to the Portland community, and very much their commitment to understanding and moving some of their products to be renewable energy. BES has done a great job at looking at all of the different benefits of this project, not just this one, but also the electricity generation that they've done for years there. If they had to buy that power on the market, it would be about $1 million a year, so it's a huge savings. There are great economic, environmental, and social equity and public health benefits to this project. As the mayor mentioned, as Commissioner Fish mentioned, the project will generate about $3 million in annual revenue. It will pay for itself in 4 years and then produce significant savings for BES ratepayers for many years to come. From a social equity and public health kind of point of view, renewable natural gas will be used in vehicles to offset the use of diesel fuel. And as you know, diesel is particularly a problem for Northeast Portland in terms of particulates. Northeast Portland has the highest particulate matter counts in the state. And as the renewable natural gas market grows, those that are living along our major transportation corridors will definitely see these benefits. Finally, from an environmental point of view, it's not just about our local air quality. As Mike mentioned, it's about reducing carbon emissions significantly. As we look for ways to get to our 100% renewable energy goal, reducing the total city government carbon footprint is essential. We need to walk our talk. We can't be out there trying to work with companies and residents and everyone else. This project alone will reduce our carbon footprint by 1/3, so significant. We absolutely need innovation in the transportation arena. We are moving fast and furious in the electricity generation area, but on the gas side and in transportation, we need a lot of work, and this is a great project that showcases that. We're going to need solutions in every shape, way, and form. There's no silver bullet on this to get to 100% renewable energy worldwide and or right here in Portland. We're going to need wind and solar and geothermal and biofuels, and this is a piece of the project and really a part of the package. So I'm thrilled to be a partner with Mike. I'm really glad he took this, pushed it, and Paul and the other staff have been working on this, Vu and Danny on my staff. And there's a gentleman, some of you know, Dave Tews, who worked on this and these projects for years. He's retired now, but I'm sure he's hopefully watching at home and thrilled that this is finally coming together. So thank you.
Good morning, Mayor Wheeler. Good morning, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners.
Good morning.
For the record, I'm Paul Sudo, Supervising Engineer with BES. So I'll walk you through the project. Just a quick overview on the presentation today. I'll just talk about basically what biogas and renewable natural gas, or RNG, are, just to get folks oriented on the terminology. Give a couple of highlights of biogas use at the Columbia Boulevard Treatment Plant, and then get into the key project elements today that we're presenting as ordinances for you to consider for approval. And then I'll give a quick recap, hopefully, of the financials, project schedule, and also the benefits that have already been stated on the project. So what is biogas and what is renewable natural gas? Basically, they're related as part of the treatment process at the plant. Biogas consists essentially of about 60% methane gas. It's produced continuously as we treat the solids in wastewater at the treatment plant in a very slow biological process, hence the term bio with biogas, or some folks also use biomethane. This is done in the absence of air, so it's what's called an anaerobic process. So there's these little bugs or bacteria in the process that convert these solids to methane, carbon dioxide, and some other trace compounds. So after the biogas is produced, it then needs to be converted to renewable natural gas, or RNG. So that's basically chemically identical to natural gas. And this is done by removing that carbon dioxide that I mentioned and then eliminating or reducing some of these trace compounds. All right, so history of biogas use at Columbia Boulevard. Just two quick highlights. So even back when the plant was originally built in 1952, we'd already been using the waste biogas to heat the digesters for the process and also the administration building at the time. And in recent history, we added the cogeneration facility, which was able to produce heat for the plant and electricity, and it powers about 40% of the power's electrical needs. However, we still had about 23% or so of the gas remaining that still was flared, so we wanted to find a solution for that. So here we are with the project goals. Basically, our ultimate goal was to reduce the amount of gas that was being flared or eliminate it and achieve 100% methane recovery at the Columbia Boulevard plant. And then, as mentioned before, we didn't just want to recover the methane, we wanted to get the best value for the ratepayer in terms of the triple bottom line analysis, economic, social, and environmental. So it was a key part of the project. As Susan mentioned, we wanted to align with the climate action plan as well. And as Mike had stated earlier, we found that converting the biogas to renewable natural gas was had the best upside or benefits for us in terms of cleaner air, greenhouse gas reductions, and revenue. So this kind of cartoon and aerial of the plant is basically showing the concept of the facility that we plan on building here. So what's shown in yellow is essentially the existing digesters. So these are large tanks. These are, they each hold over about 2 million gallons of the waste material. But what we need to add is this methane processing facility that's shown in green to produce that renewable natural gas. And then we can actually connect to Northwest Natural's distribution system, as well as build a fueling facility on site for the project. And then once it's in the distribution system, it opens up a vast network of opportunities for us in terms of where to sell the renewable natural gas as a vehicle fuel. This is just kind of a general map that shows you there's actually a lot of activity in the country, but we do need some more activity here in the Northwest with respect to CNG fueling. So this next slide shows the plant overview with the facilities that we're presenting here before you. We've got what's called the future production facility on here for renewable natural gas. And then we've got basically a piping system that connects to what's labeled as the custody transfer, which is the Northwest Natural receipt facility. So that's essentially the gatekeeping part of it, where we want to make sure, Northwest Natural also wants to make sure that the gas product that we produce meets their standards. So then once it's passes through that facility, meets the standards, it goes into what's shown as an additional pipe in pink there that we'll need to add. And then ultimately we're going to connect to the existing Northwest Natural main that's shown in yellow there at the top of the screen. And then I also want to point out the fueling station location is planned to be located near the existing fueling station that we have at the plant that uses gasoline and diesel. So here are just some photos to show what these facilities will likely look like. This is a picture of the equipment that we're expecting to install at the plant. Basically, it's a large container for one part of it that you see there, that kind of lower half of the screen, and that houses most of the equipment, motors, electrical equipment, pumps, and so forth. And then there are 2 towers associated with the renewable natural gas treatment facility. And that is, one is to actually remove the CO2 and other trace compounds from the methane, or the biogas. And then we've got another tower that helps regenerate that water. So inherently that process is actually pretty green itself, that it is able to regenerate the water used in the gas cleaning process. And then the next component is the on-site renewable CNG fueling station. That's item 371 on the council agenda today. And this is just a kind of a simplified rendering, essentially. So it's got some key components here just to highlight. One is that large box kind of in the upper right corner. That's the compressor. So we have to get it to a high enough pressure so it can actually be dispensed into vehicles. And then on the right there are 3 cylinders that are horizontal, and that's where the gas is stored. And then there's those fuel dispensing stations. So our goal here with this facility is to enter what's called a Schedule H agreement with Northwest Natural, where they design, build, and maintain the facility, and will reimburse the cost for that facility over time to Northwest Natural. And we do plan on using an Oregon Department of Energy Alternative Vehicle Fuel Infrastructure Tax Credit for this part of the project. And the last key part is the Northwest Natural Monitoring Facility. It's also referred to as the interconnection or receiving facility. That's item 372 on the agenda today. And this, as I showed in the map earlier, it's going to be located on the plant site, and it'll be on BES property on the plant site, and it'll be designed, built, and operated and maintained by Northwest Natural, and we'll be paying the cost for that to them. All right, now the financials part of this. So just a little recap on a previous approved council item a few years ago for the design of the project. We were approved $1.29 million. And then the ordinances before you today, item 370 is for the renewable natural gas facility, treatment facility. That's estimated to be about $9 million. And then we have the Northwest Natural Interconnection Facility, item 372, estimated to be $1.05 million. And the renewable CNG fueling station, item 371, that's estimated to be $1.94 million. So total project costs are estimated to be about $15.5 million. And then just to highlight here, the revenue, as Mike said earlier, we found a off-taker or buyer for it. And we expect a range from $3 to $10 million. So we're just showing the range here, but we're planning on the more conservative side of $3 million. The market today would be $10 million. If we had built this facility already, it would be that substantial. So we'll see where the market heads with that. And this is tied to both federal incentives and also state incentives in the state of California and now the state of Oregon. So we're very fortunate to have Oregon also have a clean fuels program where there are credits available on the environmental attribute market.
Could I ask, what are the most significant variables or the most significant risk factors to these financials?
It is essentially that renewable identification number, the RIN market at the federal level. It's a federally supported program, but what we've seen over time is the volume targets, meaning the amount of renewable credits that need to be purchased, those typically have increased. That's what's driven the market. So, but that would be the risk if there's a change in that. That's why we're falling on the more conservative, so say the $3 million
So even in
side.
the absence of those credits, it's still viable at the $3 million level? That's
Yeah,
your projection?
Let's say if the federal program disappeared, theoretically, and assuming the state of Oregon and the state of California programs were still in play, then we'd be around that $3 million target.
What's the time frame? And if that's later, forget it.
Yeah, I got
Okay.
one more slide.
Okay, never mind
on that. So let's see. So schedule. Just the thing that jumps out here is the fueling station. That's tied to an ODO, Oregon Department of Energy tax credit. We want to be able to compete for that or get reimbursed for that. We're trying to push pretty quickly on that to have that in the ground by the end of this calendar year. And then building the facility and also the interconnection facility, our goal is to get that completed, have it all aligned and be done by the end of next calendar year, December of 2018. So, which is why we're here presenting this as an emergency, so we can maximize the revenue return for the ratepayers. And then lastly, just to kind of bring home the benefits of the project, the triple bottom line, of course, that's been mentioned already, the greenhouse gas benefits of about 21,000 tons of CO2 per year, eliminated, estimating on a conservative side about $3 million in annual revenue. And then to put that into another context, from an environmental standpoint, basically replacing enough diesel fuel to power about 154 garbage trucks per year. So that's the end of the presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Fish?
Mayor, we have one more panel after this panel.
Very good. Any questions for this panel?
I just have a technical question. It's going back to high school chemistry, and that is the byproduct of this is carbon dioxide. Have we looked at how are we going to fix that? To fix, push, I think it's H2O plus the carbon dioxide, and you have chlorophyll, and it gets fixed and can be used for that. So, would there be a capturing of that byproduct? Not yet.
I think some folks are theorizing about it, but we haven't seen anything practical on that side yet.
The main issue is that methane is a much more powerful greenhouse gas, and so anything you can do to get methane into CO2 is a huge benefit. And all the other projects we do around carbon sequestration and other things try to get at the other
That might
carbon
be
issues.
for a future council to keep going, because it's really terrific work.
We'll work on that.
Thank you.
So do we have compressed natural gas vehicles in our fleet in the city?
We are working on that. At BES, we have some in the budget coming up this year, and we're trying to line up this fueling station. So we can operate this fueling station at the end of the year on natural gas to start using the vehicles we plan to have on site in the coming year. So the plan is to start phasing those in.
And will this fueling station be open to public? Or?
No, it will not. It will just be available for city vehicles and city contracted vehicles at the Columbia Boulevard site.
Can this be used for, I thought I heard you say it, but I'm not positive. This can be a replacement for the diesel vehicles, so the heavy industrial vehicles, is that correct?
That's correct.
Good news. Good. Glad to hear it.
Thank you very much. Mayor, let me introduce the next panel.
Please.
We're honored to be joined today by the President and CEO of Northwest Natural, Mr. David Anderson, from the Citizens Utility Board of Oregon, Janice Thompson, and from Oregon Environmental Council, their Climate Director, Jana Gastelum. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Who wants to go first? Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, be happy to. Mayor Wheeler, Commissioner Fish, and members of the council, thank you for having us here. Exciting day to be here with the state champs too, so I didn't know that was going to be the case, but I'm here to provide testimony about this groundbreaking project. My name is David Anderson. I'm the president and CEO of Northwest Natural, and we've been proud to serve the city of Portland and the surrounding region for almost 160 years. Actually, we've been serving customers here longer than the state has been a state. Most people don't realize that. So because this is our hometown and we pay close attention to the needs and priorities of our customers and communities we serve, we take pride in our Northwest roots and the environmental stewardship that drives us to tackle complex problems and hopefully to lead the way for others to follow. And this renewable natural gas project is a perfect example of this pioneering spirit. Through this project, we're able to take an environmental challenge, which you just heard, which was wastewater, that produces greenhouse gas emissions and turns it into renewable energy that can be delivered through our existing pipeline system. And that's a system that is one of the newest and tightest pipeline systems in the country. We've been collaborating with the city's team for a long time to make this project a reality. And once the direction was set, Northwest Natural worked through a number of technical and regulatory issues, including the engineering challenge to design a quality specification for the renewable natural gas that will flow into our system and, of course, into the trucks, as you just heard about. And with your approval today, we will move forward to build and maintain the infrastructure needed to serve the facility. Needless to say, we're incredibly excited that our collective efforts would culminate in the largest climate action project Portland has ever done. It's through partnerships like these that our pipeline system can be used in new ways. We can help communities close the loop on waste, substantially reduce emissions, and improve air quality. That's a value proposition, frankly, that's hard to beat. And it's why we believe this will be the first of many other renewable natural gas projects to come. We, and I personally, would like to thank the Bureau of Environmental Services and the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability for their leadership on this effort. We look forward to partnering with the City of Portland on other innovative projects that drive us to a low-carbon future in ways that are equitable of all of our communities that we serve. With your vote today, Portland takes an important step forward toward that future, and thank you from the company and a personal thank you from me.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Janice Thompson, Citizens Utility Board. Thank you. Janice Thompson, Oregon Citizens Utility Board, or CUB. CUB fully supports Portland's triple bottom line approach, and I want to concur with earlier comments about focus on transportation sector projects in terms of addressing greenhouse gases. We've been pleased to support at the state level the low carbon fuel standards and are doing quite a bit of work in that whole transportation arena at the state level. Regarding this project, our analytical emphasis, though, was on the economics and ensuring good value to Portland sewer and wastewater customers. We were always very intrigued by the revenue generation potential of this biogas project, but in order to make money, you have to spend money, and so our concern was ensuring an acceptable payback at an acceptable level of risk. Along the way, CUB asked lots of questions. I appreciate all the responses from BES. For example, related, Mayor Wheeler, you mentioned several of the risks. Those are exactly the types of questions, or good examples of the questions I was asking in terms of do the risks are acceptable. Another point about risk is that this is technology that's not unusual or untried. But the market, is this environmental incentive-driven market, which, requires careful analysis. And so it was really great, as Paul mentioned, or Mike and Paul, I think, mentioned, when the response to the offtake RFP really confirmed kind of everybody's best hunches along the way that the economics were really going to pan out quite well. So the attention to detail and careful analysis of costs and benefits by BES along the way is commendable. The effort has taken persistence because it's been a complicated project development that, in a good way, has taken time to get all the pieces lined up. So the various project elements, however, are aligning with good analysis of the risks and a quite acceptable payback period, and CUB does urge your support for the ordinances before you this morning.
Thank you. We appreciate your hard work on this.
Hi. Mayor and City Commissioners, my name is Jana Gastelum. I'm the Climate Program Director at the Oregon Environmental Council, and I'm pleased to be here in support of the Bureau of Environmental Services proposal to capture and convert waste biomethane into renewable clean transportation fuel. The largest share of our climate pollution comes from transportation emissions at both the city and state levels, and local actions to address climate change are becoming more important than ever for 3 reasons. 1, global CO2 levels continue to skyrocket, surpassing levels not seen for millions of years. 2, climate impacts are increasingly being felt here in Oregon in the forms of melting snowpack, warming rivers, dying fish, and more extreme heat that harms people. And 3, the government is rolling back climate and clean air protections at the federal government at a startling rate. And as Earth Day approaches, I think Americans are sorely in need of leadership. With Portland's action today, the city of Portland steps up as a climate and clean air leader. Thank you for that. Portland has an opportunity with this project to make significant climate pollution reductions. Over the past 7.5 years, I've been working on that statewide clean fuels program. It requires really rigorous greenhouse gas accounting of the full life cycle impacts of transportation fuels. And we know from this accounting that biomethane from wastewater treatment plants, like the project proposed today, when compared to diesel fuel, can result in a 70 to 90% carbon intensity reduction. That's an astonishing reduction and is excellent for the climate. So utilizing those waste streams, particularly as a transportation fuel, is a huge benefit for the climate. Of equal importance are the air quality benefits this project can provide for our area. Diesel is one of the worst culprits in polluting our local air quality. Diesel soot, or that particulate matter, is exceptionally harmful to human health. Those toxic substances in exhaust are able to hitch a ride on those particulates and enter the body. They go into our bloodstreams, they circulate through our entire bodies. And diesel exhaust is linked to strokes, heart attacks, asthma, and other diseases. And its impact on local air quality is personal to me. I have 2 kids who attend a preschool not far from I-84. They're outside playing, jumping, running, being creative. But I think about their developing hearts and lungs, and I know that kids all over the city, from an equity standpoint, are also playing and living and breathing near busy roadways. So we need solutions to harmful diesel pollution, and converting vehicles to run on cleaner fuels like renewable natural gas or electricity is essential. And unfortunately, the state legislature earlier this week gutted a bill to clean up dirty diesel. So again, your local level leadership matters a great deal. And finally, not only is relying on petroleum problematic for the climate and air, but it's also not so great for our pocketbooks. Every drop of gasoline and diesel that we consume is imported into this state, which means that we export our energy dollars. This project keeps more dollars circulating locally in Portland. And it's not every day that you have a proposal that significantly addresses Portland's climate pollution, reduces toxic air pollution, and enhances local economic activity. So every step we make at the local level to address climate change and rein in diesel pollution matters for our health now and our future. I thank you and encourage support of this project.
Thank you. Any questions for this panel? Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner Fish. Is there any public testimony on this item?
Yes, I have 4 people signed up. The first 3, please come on up, are Lightning Super Watchdog, Nancy Newell, and Matthew Denton.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Super Watchdog. As you know, I have done communications in the past on diesel particulates. My main concern was having a daycare center just outside in the Portland building where the buses came by every few minutes, and it was going up in the air, floating into that daycare center playground. I have a real problem with action not being taken by Mayor Hales when I brought that to his attention. Now, I understand the daycare center is no longer there, so this project here, like I say, is a very amazing project pertaining to the climate change and the issues we're dealing with the diesel situation. Again, I haven't heard any costs on the retrofitting of the vehicles. I'd like to have a little more data on that, overall cost, how that will be paid. Are there tax credits, incentives to go in that direction? Again, if we decide not to retrofit the vehicles, will Northwest Natural Gas still be able to market the renewable natural gas in an efficient manner to where we'll still meet our projected gross income? Again, I'm amazed on the overall cost of this project, also looking at the cost recovery. And I know Commissioner Saltzman is looking at the numbers here and going, this is impressive. And the reality is that why this project hasn't taken place sooner. But again, I understand Northwest Natural Gas may have had a lot of the control position on this. Again, my position also pertaining, if we decide not to use this on city vehicles, is Northwest Natural Gas in the city also looking at possibly doing airplane fuel? Again, that's the highest dollar paid out. I don't know if you can go in that direction from this. I don't know if an analysis has been done, and if Northwest Natural Gas, being close to the airport, has looked at that situation, because these numbers here are so impressive. I mean, if you're talking 3 million up to what I heard market of 10 million per year on an annual basis, paying your project off in 2 years and then just what I consider pure profit is absolutely amazing. So it's an amazing project. I'll be candid with you. It's a win for the city and a win for the environment. And again, my main focus, it's a win for the young children in this city that have to breathe in this diesel particulates, and it will affect them in their future years. And that's why I've made a stand on that to shut down any diesel vehicles in at least the central city location in the urban area. for the children. Thank you.
Lightning, can I just say that, as usual, you've raised a lot of great questions. We'll get you written answers, and I'm pleased that you flagged the issue of whether we could partner with the port, because they have vehicles, and that's a question we're gonna pursue to see whether, if we have enough capacity, we can actually bring them in as a partner and sell them the natural gas.
And I want to make it very clear, I'm also talking about airplanes, and that's the highest dollar amount per se, especially if you can send it to China. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Good morning. The button, I'm sorry, on the front there. Lightning, can you help with the button, please? Thanks. Sorry, they're new.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Nancy Newell. I've worked on these issues for years. I raised it here, and Eric Sten was one of the commissioners. Susan Anderson was visionary, has done tremendous research. You have a real honorable citizen in this, and I'm so glad she's still here. And the main reason I'm here is I'm concerned about whether the bank held the interest on some kind of loan for this project to go forward. And if it did, I think we should get that interest back and give it back to the taxpayers, because they're supporting Standing Rock. If it's the same banks that are supporting Standing Rock, let's make a real point to them that their policies are detrimental, and we don't want them to profit in excess like they have in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Denton. I live in the Portsmouth neighborhood, and I serve on the Citizen Advisory Committee for the Columbia Boulevard Wastewater Treatment Plant. I'm speaking in favor of the project to produce renewable natural gas, to get renewable natural gas into the Northwest Natural Gas system, and to build a renewable natural gas fueling station. Back in 1905, there was the first transcontinental automobile race from New York to Portland. These were the first motorized vehicles to travel the Oregon Trail. The winner completed the race in 44 days, arriving just in time for the Lewis and Clark Exposition. The cars ran on gasoline, but gas stations didn't exist. The main use of gasoline back in those days was dry cleaning, so the cars would stop at drugstores and buy dry cleaning supplies. Over time, more cars were made and gas stations came into existence, but the trip was only possible because you could buy gasoline. People buy gasoline-powered cars today because gasoline is readily available. Yes, you can buy an electric car, but people worry about where they will charge it. Even though we have made huge improvements in the electric vehicle charging infrastructure, it doesn't compare to over a century of gasoline. This is a chicken or the egg problem. People don't want to install more charging stations unless there are more cars to use them, and people don't want to buy electric cars until there are more charging stations. Natural gas fueling in the city is much like electric car charging was 10 years ago. It barely exists. You also can't walk into a car dealership and buy a natural gas car. You have to convert it. The conversion isn't difficult, but with very few fueling stations, very few people do that. Compared to gasoline and diesel, natural gas is cleaner in almost every regard. Less CO2 and no particulates, which is good for the planet and good for the people that live nearby. The natural gas from the sewage treatment plant is a renewable fuel that comes from decomposing sewage. Currently, the treatment plant burns some of that fuel in an engine to make electricity, and while we could use that to power electric vehicles, it's far more efficient to burn the gas in the vehicles directly. First, we have to solve the chicken and the egg problem of fueling stations and vehicles. Portland has the opportunity to be on the leading edge by running city vehicles on natural gas. We don't have to wait for the rest of the country. We are big enough to build our own fueling stations and convert vehicles, and because most of our vehicles stay inside city limits, we won't have to worry about other natural gas stations. This project is great for the city's long-term goals of getting more renewables, but this project also fits in the goals of the Citizen Advisory Committee. The CAC was originally formed because the sewage treatment plant smelled bad. Prior to the 1980s, the sewage treatment plant had no odor control facilities at all, and longtime CAC members recall trucks of damp sewage coming from the Tyrone Creek plant or leaving the plant heading to eastern Oregon with uncovered decomposing sewage that you could smell all the way across North Portland. Thanks to a lot of work by the plant, things are much better. So now the biggest air quality complaint is diesel exhaust. By getting city vehicles converted to use renewable natural gas, we can make positive steps towards cleaner air. But first, Portland needs to be a leader and build a renewable natural gas fueling station. Thank you.
Thank you for your service on the CAC and for your testimony.
Thank you.
The last person who signed up is Star Stoffer.
Morning.
Good morning. Isn't it nice to have our building back?
Yes,
it is.
It is.
Well, you all know who I am. I'm Star Stoffer. I have a few concerns about Northwest Natural Gas. First of all, where is the emergency plan and who's checked it in regards to the safety of this facility should there be an explosion or a leak, considering not far down the street is an entire community of marginalized community members, and then there's the river right there, and of course that is a high traffic area. My other concern with Northwest Natural is not extremely related to this project, but considering it's going to affect the community members that have to pay for Northwest Natural Gas, I need to bring it up. They have almost no programs for people who have trouble paying their bill. And while I have their attention here, you guys need to do something about that. I can't tell you how many people this winter that I know went without heat because Northwest Natural shut them off for being past due and would not work with them. And it was extremely cold outside. So if we're going to be building a new facility and we think it can pay for itself in, 4 years, I don't know, my math isn't the best if you look back at my transcripts, but it seems to me that what you're saying is that this is going to be an extremely profitable facility. But for who? The white leaders of Northwest Natural Gas or the actual community that it's being built in? Because you're not going to sit here and profit off this community and then not work with them to keep their heat on. That's not going to work. I'll just fill the place up with protesters and shut it down day after day if that's how it's going to be. But they need to work with the community instead of just shutting off their gas. These people need to have heat. In this last winter, with people dying of exposure, it's extremely crucial that they come up with some type of program and some kind of outreach to get to these community members who have trouble paying their bills. Shutting them off is not acceptable, and it should never be an answer. Shame on Northwest Natural.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Charles Bridge Crane Johnson. And thank you. I'm a little concerned that each of these items, the 3 items, when we talk about, well, first let's look at the language. When we look at the first item, the $9 million, and it says, at the end of each of these budget items, it says, the last line is, oh, it's not on the last line of the other one, but 370, yada, yada, at perfectly even $9 million. So that's kind of a suspicious, estimated $9 million. I guess that's close enough. But then when we go down to 371, which is a fueling station, the gentleman that's on the Columbia Wastewater Board just talked about a fueling station. So perhaps there'll be a provision for privately operated natural gas vehicles to be fueled there. That's almost another $2 million, $1.9 million. And then, but that's those first 2 things are real capital expenditures that have actual costs. The next thing is an agreement. And admittedly, there will be a disbursement by the city, but an agreement cost is different than a capital cost. It's just like, sometimes cities pay huge millions of dollars in agreement to build a stadium. They're not really worried about the cost, they just make agreements. So when we look into the only 5 pages on these items, we see that the estimated cost recovery is somewhere between 3 to 8 years. That's really not a very impressive fiduciary assessment. An impressive fiduciary assessment would be selling, I don't even remember the units, I don't know if they're selling these in therms or what they're going to be sold in, but it's disappointing as citizens, even though we have the Citizens Utility Board, which is generally credible, that there's no real document saying we expect to sell X volume of gas at X price, and that's why we have this huge 100% window. It might be 3 years we recover it, it might be 8 years. I don't really think that that type of brief summary here serves the citizens, and there's no pointer to who's got the actual data so that other outsiders can make a judgment of, are these reasonably adjusted, or is this really just a boondoggle? The city's getting a neat green thing. Direct cash is going to, on the first item, we're going to award a contract for the building, correct? So none of these payments, which of these 3 items pays directly to Northwest Natural?
I don't know, but the proceeds come back to ratepayers.
If there are proceeds that, once the proceeds exceed, and that'd be interesting for you to inform the people, is like, the proceeds eventually, if this remains a continually profitable project, but why is the initial outlay from the city? That's not the way this is a glorified capitalism society. If this was such a great deal, why is it Northwest Natural, who's going to go to a more expensive office building, able to foot this up themselves and give us revenue in the first year?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Shut them down.
All right, and we'll have to do them separately. Is there any further council discussion or questions? With that, Carla, we'll vote on these independently, please. Item 370 first, please call the roll.
Fish?
Well, Mayor, I'll give my closing remarks on this one, and they'll apply to each of the items before us. In the 4 years that I've had the honor of leading the Bureau of Environmental Services, I've learned a lot. And one of the most important lessons I've learned is that what's good for the environment is frequently good for our ratepayers. This project is a triple win for Portland. We'll be eliminating 21,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions every year. We will be reducing our reliance on dirty diesel, and we will be earning millions of dollars for our ratepayers. There are a lot of people I need to thank that brought us to this day. I want to thank Director Michael Jordan and his team at the Bureau of Environmental Services. And I particularly want to call out the two people at the staff level who embody the meaning of perseverance. This project, we could spend all day talking about all the hurdles that we had to overcome. Legal, regulatory, practical, financial, but Paul Sudo and Vu Han have worked tirelessly to get this right. They don't usually get the kind of attention and gratitude they deserve. So I want to thank both of them for their exemplary public service. I want to thank Susan Anderson and the team at the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. For as long as I've been on this council, Susan has been the quarterback guiding this council on our ambitious climate action plan and on all of the sustainability programs of this city, which have generated just not national, but international attention. Thank you, Susan, to you and your team for being just key partners in doing this. I want to thank my colleague and friend, Dan Salzman. An odd feature of our form of government is that good ideas usually start here, but they usually are brought to fruition under a commissioner that wasn't there at the first meeting or wasn't there with the original idea. And so it takes a team. I remember when we did the big pipe, I think it was Earl Blumenauer that was sort of at the beginning of that process, but it was Dan Salzman that brought it home. So Dan, thank you for the work that you've done to make this day possible. Mayor, I want to also thank you. And the other day, you and Susan set a very high bar for our city to get to 100% renewable energy. And today, the Bureau of Environmental Services is making a big statement about doing our part to help you get to that audacious goal. I want to thank our partners at Northwest Natural, not just for this venture, because it took a lot of work to get through all the regulatory stuff and all the legal and practical challenges, but we've been very conservative, correctly so, I think, about what we think is the return on this project. But as you listen to the PowerPoint, the upside on this is astonishing. And I think Mayor, I think the insurance policy we have is whatever goes on in DC, it's likely that the Cascadia region will continue to be leaders in creating markets for our product. So we've put a threshold here of a fairly modest number of 3 million, but it could be substantially more if we continue to have this robust market for this product. So thank you, Northwest Natural, and thank you, the President, for joining us, not just on this, but for your partnership on Superfund, which is going to be crucial to making progress on cleaning up the harbor. I want to thank everyone who took time to testify today, and I particularly want to thank the Citizens Utility Board of Oregon. People need to know that CUB is a residential ratepayer advocate, and they represent residential ratepayers statewide against private utilities. We are the first city in Oregon where the CUB has served as a ratepayer advocate for residential ratepayers in the context of a public utility. And because of Janice and the expertise that CUB brings to the table, we've been able to save ratepayers a lot of money. So we are very grateful for that relationship. Thanks to the CAC and our friend from North Portland for being here. We made a lot of progress since the days people complained about the odor. And we're going to even do better on the odor by not flaring any of that methane gas. I want to thank my colleagues for the support they've given the public utilities over the years. A number of years ago, we were in a situation where the public wasn't so clear about our direction or about our discipline and how we spent their dollars. I think that narrative has changed dramatically, and I thank the council for the support they've given over these past 4 years. This Earth Day, the environmental movement is facing unprecedented challenges on a national level. But whatever may be happening in Washington, D.C., today the city of Portland is making very clear that we will continue to lead by example on clean air, clean water, and clean energy. It is a proud day for the Bureau of Environmental Services. And finally, the guy on my team who does all the work and gets none of the glory is Jamie Dunphy. And I want to thank Jamie for his great service as well. Aye.
Saltzman?
Well, congratulations, Commissioner. Congratulations, Commissioner Fish, Bureau of Environmental Services, Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, Northwest Natural. This is a great accomplishment. As Commissioner Fish alluded to, I was the commissioner in charge of BES in 2008 when we got the cogeneration capacity going. But I was always frustrated by that remaining 23% that were just of wasted methane that's just flaring. And indeed, worldwide, you see methane flaring all over the place. Landfills, oil pipelines, everywhere. And we are wasting a tremendous amount of untapped energy. So I'm really proud that we are today taking the steps to capture all that methane and to put it to good productive use, whether it's fueling vehicles, generating electricity, selling it to Malarkey Roofing. Let's not forget them. They're a good industry here in Portland as well. And I also wanted to just recognize Dave Tews, who was mentioned earlier with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. He is the go-to person over the years for making renewable energy projects pencil and understanding all the complicated things like Schedule H, whatever that is, but there's all these schedules and tariffs and things like that. It's a very complicated world. So I'm really happy that you've managed to work this all out and that this will be a reality. So thank you all. Aye.
You, Daly?
I'd just like to quickly thank Mike and Susan and Commissioner Fish and Commissioner Saltzman and everyone who's worked so hard on this for many years. As a resident of a neighborhood in Northeast Portland with high levels of air pollution, I thank you. As the mother of a child with asthma and someone who has been recently diagnosed with asthma myself, I want to thank you. And as a very disappointed resident of the state of Oregon, in our legislature for dropping the ball on dirty diesel, I want to thank you. And I also really appreciate the buy local aspect, which hadn't really occurred to me until today. So very happy to support this. Aye.
Fritz?
Well, thank you, Commissioner Saltzman and Commissioner Fish. This is a wonderful project. I've been happy to vote for it every time components of it have come to council. Looking forward to seeing the money returned to the ratepayers, and just fabulous project. Thank you. Thanks to all the staff. I was particularly happy to see that there was already a citizen advisory committee established for the treatment plant, and also joining the thanks for the Citizen Utility Board and the Portland Utility Board. So this process has certainly had robust community involvement, and I appreciate that. Aye.
Wheeler?
So I want to add my thanks to Commissioner Fish for bringing it home, Commissioner Saltzman for starting this process. Without your leadership, this would not have happened. And in many communities around the country, it wouldn't even have been started. And Commissioner Fish, I just want to say personally, I admire the work and the partnerships that you've created to help bring this to fruition. I want to thank all of the appropriate acronyms from the various bureaus to the CUB to the CAC. This was very much a community-engaged process. I wish Jim hadn't left as early as he did. He came up and he was feeling a little depressed during communications and said he couldn't think of anything that the Portland City Council had done that was positive. And I've been sort of mulling over that comment ever since, and it occurred to me virtually every vote we take here is controversial. We're goring somebody's ox, no matter what we do or how good our intentions are, how much of the homework we have completed. And this is one of those rare circumstances where I think Commissioner Fish, the community has come together, worked really hard over a period of many years to bring this home. So the promise is good. As we were admonished during public testimony, there's a wide range of potential outcomes here, at least on the fiscal part of this. So I am going into this with my usual sense of reserve, but the main thing for me here isn't actually the financials, even if it's the worst case scenario, the 8-year payoff, or let's say it's 10-year payoff. I still think it is imperative, as Commissioner Udaley just said, that we move forward on our carbon reduction goals, and I share her concern that the state is not taking dirty diesel nearly as seriously as the state should take it. It should be a top climate priority for the state of Oregon, and I think it's important that we keep pushing them from the local level to do the right thing. So thank you to all of you who made this a reality. Commissioner Fish in particular, I vote aye. And the ordinance is adopted, and now I assume we'll go to 371 and 372 relatively quickly.
Fish?
Aye.
Saltzman?
Aye.
Udaley?
Aye.
Fritz?
Aye.
Wheeler?
Aye. Ordinance 371 is passed. Next item, please.
Fish?
Aye.
Saltzman?
Aye.
Udaley?
Aye.
Fritz?
Aye.
Wheeler?
Aye. Item 372, the ordinance has passed. And with the consent of my colleagues, we'll still hold off for a minute on the pulled item from the consent agenda, go to items 373 and 374 that are time certain. If we could go ahead and have those read together, and again, we'll vote on them separately.
373, recognize May 23, 2017 to be Mayor Harry Lane Day in Portland.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner Fish.
Thank you, Mayor and colleagues. If Liam Frost and our good friend Jeff Curtis would take seats. We have two items before the council today. One is a proclamation honoring a famous figure from Portland's past, which we're going to get a quick introduction on, and then the mayor can read that. And second, we're going to take up a memorandum of understanding to formalize the relationship between the city of Portland and our official award-winning festival. Liam Frost,
Mayor?
I think you got a new suit for this day.
Just for today, Commissioner.
So in honor of that, why don't you tee it up for us?
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners.
Morning.
For the record, I'm Liam Frost. I serve as Policy Director for Commissioner Nick Fish. Among the many hats I wear, I have recently become the liaison to the Portland Rose Festival in January, and I've thoroughly enjoyed jumping into the renewed energy around the Rose Festival, working with Jeff and Marilyn Clint and their team, as well as Matt Grumm in Commissioner Saltzman's office and Jennifer Arguinzoni in your office, Mr. Mayor. So today before you, there are two Rose Festival related items, the first of which is a rather special proclamation in honor of Mayor Harry Lane. Here to tell us more about Harry Lane is Jeff Curtis, and in spirit at least, Harry Lane himself.
Mayor Wheeler, distinguished council, Jeff Curtis, for the record, I'm CEO of the Portland Rose Festival Foundation. 10 years ago, in our centennial, thanks to some funding, grant funding from the city of Portland and other sources, under leadership of Marilyn Clint and Angel Ocasio, we developed our Living History program, which was designed to take the history of the Rose Festival, combine that with the magic and history of the city of Portland, especially around the turn of the century. If you look back at Portland's history, what was happening between 1900 and 1910, there were some rather visionary things taking place in our community. And one man was at the forefront of that, and that was our mayor at the time, known as the father of the Rose Festival, Mayor Harry Lane. Why this year matters is that on May the 23rd will be 100 years since his passing. It's right on the eve of the 2017 Rose Festival, so we want to celebrate his legacy and proclaim a special day. And we want to take the education that we've been doing with kids in schools. Mr. Lane has been taught thousands of kids in our schools over the 10 years the history of Portland, specifically around the turn of the century and his vision. We want to let the citizens of Portland know a little more about it, and thus this proclamation kind of celebrates that. With that said, I want to introduce distinguished Mayor Harry Lane.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be back here in City Hall, which was built in 1895, and I I can't remember where my office was, but I served for 2 terms from 1905 to 1909. And had an interesting council because we had 15 members in the city council, and they were elected by their political party. I was a Democrat, one other person a Democrat, the other 13 were Republicans. It was a very interesting time. But nevertheless, we came together, and following the wonderful exposition, Lewis and Clark exposition that was held here for 5 months in 1905, we brought 1.6 million people to this city to visit all the expositions. And we met in October of 1905 to congratulate ourselves, those who had invested in the exposition. And as mayor, I issued this proclamation to about 1,000 people at a dinner meeting on October 14th, 1905. I'd like to read that to you at this point. And this would be regarding the success of the Lewis and Clark exposition and what we could do next. And I was recommending a Rose Festival. It would be the greatest permanent advertisement for this city that was ever attempted and would make Portland's fame as a Rose City worldwide. Let the city improvement spirit take hold of the people. Let them plant roses, which will grow in the summer. Let them plant hedges of trees. We will then have a beautiful green and red city, green with fir and red with roses. Let the people paint their houses and continue public improvement. Let the great railroads make this a center and a great seaport, and we will soon have the most wonderful and most famous city in the United States. Let us maintain a permanent exposition which would attract thousands every year to our city and would be the greatest advertisement for Portland that could ever be instituted. What Los Angeles is as a winter resort, Portland with its delightful climate would be as a summer resort. And that was passed, and the festival was incorporated in 1905 through the state of Oregon, and we've continued much because of the support of the city council, and we're now in our 110th year. Thank you.
Thank you. And we too have a proclamation, and Mayor, I was pleased to see, here's our formal proclamation, but it's nice to know that some tricks are timeless, like printing it out in larger type. This is the Mayor Harry Lane proclamation. Whereas Harry Lane served as Portland's mayor from 1905 through 1909. And whereas prior to serving as mayor, Harry Lane was a physician, an advocate for public health, treating many Portlanders without charge, and working for clean water, pure food, and disease prevention. And whereas Harry Lane was a supporter of women's rights and appointed a woman, Esther Pohl Lovejoy, as Portland's first city health officer, and also appointed one of the first female police officers in the nation, Lola G. Baldwin. Whereas Harry Lane battled machine politics and was unafraid to challenge corrupt business practices wherever he found them. And whereas Harry Lane was a man of vision who called for a permanent Rose Carnival to be held annually during the summer season, and is thus known as the father of the Rose Festival. And whereas Harry Lane began the fundraising for the Rose Festival with a $100 contribution of his own money, encouraging others to give because, quote, they'd be aiding to maintain a permanent exposition which would attract thousands every year to our city and would be the greatest advertisement for Portland, unquote. Whereas in 2007, during its centennial celebration, the Portland Rose Festival recreated Mayor Harry Lane as a character in the Rose Festival Living History program. And whereas for 10 years, Mayor Harry Lane has been portrayed by David Rionda, a Portlander with a deep appreciation for Harry Lane's heritage, who has taken his story to thousands of students and adults in the Portland area. And whereas Harry Lane passed away 100 years ago on May 23, 1917, and is buried in Portland's Lone Fir Cemetery. Whereas the city of Portland desires to collaborate with the Portland Rose Festival, Portland's official festival, to honor the legacy of Harry Lane. Now therefore, I, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of Portland, do hereby recognize May 23rd, 2017 as Mayor Harry Lane Day and invite citizens to celebrate the life of Portland's 35th mayor. That's
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll give you this proclamation. We will move quickly. Commissioner Fish? Yes, sir.
So we're going to go, thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you.
So we have a second item before us, and Mayor, I want to begin by thanking you for assigning me the role of council liaison to the Rose Festival. It is our official festival, and it's a great honor to work with Jeff Curtis and his crack team. As you may know, in 2010, the council declared the Rose Festival to be the official festival of the city of Portland. It serves as the city's premier annual event, attracting people from all over the world and showcasing the best of Portland. The work that Jeff and his team put in all year round make each festival bigger and better, and it's just extraordinary. It's an honor to work with Jeff and the board, and we look forward to continuing to build on the strong foundation. Here to tell us more about the MOU that's before us is Liam Frost. Liam got a new suit for this occasion. And Liam is my liaison to the Rose Festival. Liam?
It's good to see you all again.
Excuse me, I need to read the title first.
Sorry, Carl.
374, authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Rose Festival Foundation to assign and outline the city and foundation's roles and responsibilities for the annual Portland Rose Festival.
Liam?
So, for the record, Liam Frost, Policy Director for City Commissioner Nick Fish. Before you is a memorandum of understanding between the City of Portland and the Rose Festival Foundation, which memorializes the collaboration between the city and the Rose Festival Foundation. This MOU was originally passed in 2012. It has since been updated, reviewed by city attorneys, and also by relevant staff at the city. Before I hand it over to Jeff and Brett, I do just want to give a shout out and acknowledge Allison Madsen of PBOT, who's the special events coordinator for the city. So any massive event that you see downtown on the weekends throughout the year, Allison has her fingerprints all over it, and she's an unsung hero because she doesn't like to be recognized as much, but I did it anyway. So I think she's here somewhere. So thank you, Allison.
Thank you. For the record, Jeff Curtis, CEO of the Rose Festival Foundation. I want to thank Distinguished Council for this opportunity to bring this forward, our MOU, because it's a significant step in the building and maintaining of our relationship. I want to introduce Brett Baker, Chairman, President of our Board of Directors, and I think his role is appropriate given our theme, which is brilliant this year. But brilliant in this context, in this room, relates to leadership, relates to the values and principles of bringing an idea forward like Harry Lane did, and thus we are celebrating and at the same time acknowledging the growth and development of today's festival. So I want to introduce Brett Baker to say a few words.
Thanks, Jeff. Hey, as Jeff said, my name is Brett Baker. I have the honor of presiding over the board of the Portland Rose Festival right now. And I just wanted to relate a little bit about why the Rose Festival is special to me. You know, like so many folks in Oregon, you know, I'm a native Oregonian, grew up in Salem, and I had the privilege of coming up to the Rose Festival almost every year. My grandparents came to the Rose Festival, you know, almost when the festival started, you know, around the turn of the last century. And they really shared their love of the Rose Festival with me, and I think that started very early in my life, you know, to have a great love for the organization and the festival. And then as I became older, as a younger adult, going back about 20 years, I was a young commercial banker, and I became the banker of the Rose Festival organization before I was on the board. And then I started to really realize not only all the fun stuff about the festival and the family stuff about the festival, but really the huge economic impact it has on the local economy and driving positive feelings about Oregon, you know, on the national stage. And the combination of those two things really make the organization special to me. You know, it really bonds families together, generation over generation. It's really unique because it bonds the community together. It's a large secular event. Even in this day and age, we have 500,000 people that come in person to these events. No place else, not only in Portland or Oregon, but in the entire Northwest United States, that many people come to an event. So I think that really speaks to the relevance of the organization still today. And I have to mention, very sadly, we lost one of our legendary leaders, Hillman Ludeman, or Ludi as he was known by many of his many friends. He had a unique heritage of service to the organization in that his dad, Hillman Ludeman Sr., was president of the Rose Festival in 1934, and then Ludi was president of the organization 40 years later. And then he went on to serve for decades on our executive committee. And his day job was he served for 5 decades as an executive at Portland General Electric. He was always a very humble, human, and caring individual. And it's a real honor for me, and I'm sure I speak for the rest of the board, that we get to follow in the footsteps of men and women like Ludi, who are able to work with this organization to still give this gift to the city of Portland. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to my friend and CEO, Jeff Curtis.
And with that, reclaim the mic for a second. So, Mayor, this MOU was actually approved by the council in 2012. It probably took us a little longer than necessary to actually get to this point, but we're going to ask the council to take really the formal action of approving the MOU, this updated version, which was previously approved in 2012, and then ask you if you would join Jeff and actually sign the original document and present Mayor Lane with his proclamation.
Thank you. I just want to be brief and offer some more context to the MOU and the spirit of what it means. It's a practical document, but I think it shows what's not shown, and to some degree, is the vision and leadership about what it means and how we work with the city as its official festival. I mean, it talks what makes Rose Festival unique and different. There are too many to name in this room, but essentially there's no other celebration that draws over 1.5 million people, an economic impact of $65 million annually, not to mention it is the signature event of our great city. And we do this with a philanthropic purpose, arts, youth, education, volunteerism, stewardship of the environment. But the main reason we do it is do it for our community, for Portland. There's nothing like it. As the official festival, we celebrate Portland, its great way of life, and it brings the community together. So that, in essence, this document is the nuts and bolts of that, but it's up to us, myself, Brett, our staff, volunteers, to celebrate the legacy of Mayor Lane's vision with the thousands of people that have led it prior to this year, to the volunteers that dedicate their time and efforts. That's what this document kind of memorializes structurally, but it takes a lot of vision and leadership and positive thinking going forward. Now, it was mentioned that this MOU is not a new thing. I like to think it's 110 years in the making, because it did, just 105 years ago, we were in front of council with the same purpose, and it happened to be the last council meeting in December. And thus, it's stuck in a pile of paperwork under the new administration in 2013. And while the festival continued, we still felt strongly that as we continue to move this festival forward, that having this document signed by our mayor matters. And I appreciate, Nick, for your leadership as you took over the council liaison role to make this a priority. And Mayor Wheeler, thank you for acknowledging the purpose and the importance. And Amanda Fritz, thank you for you created the whole official festival status. So thank you for that. And Commissioner Udaly, we look forward to working with you and your vision of the city and how the Rose Festival can incorporate those things.
We actually have events picked out for all of them to be
That is
ambassadors for
correct.
the council.
That is absolutely
We'll be letting them know later.
So as I close, I just want to say that I'm up here as CEO, but there's a lot of people in our past, in our present, that are committed to the focus and development of this festival, and it takes a partnership with the city lead council to make it happen. It absolutely takes a true partnership, and this symbolizes that on a go-forward basis. So thank you very much.
I was wondering if you could just touch on the information that you gave us in terms of the economic benefits of this Rose Festival. Because I think many people love it because it's the Rose Festival, but this is, handout that you gave us is a very impressive list of why it benefits every taxpayer in Portland and every resident of Portland. So could you just do some of that, please?
Yeah, we get that question a lot. People see the events, they see the fleets come in, they see the court making their appearances, they see the concerts on the waterfront, but what's Rose Festival Foundation's true purpose? This document, in this infographic, I think does a good job of exemplifying that, but economic impact. Mayor Lane, when he started the festival in 1907, he said he wanted to put Portland on the map, create a carnival of roses to symbolize our city, but there was another purpose. That was to bring people to Portland and have a significant economic boost annually. And thus, $65 million is an independent study that was done 6 years ago. We're going to be in the process of updating that in the next 2 years. That the spending in Portland during the entire time of the festival. So we're very proud of that annually. But not to mention what we give back to the city, what we expend to the city in direct parks resources, and bring people together with our parades and things of that nature. So this does a good job of kind of putting that in paper. And what doesn't get talked about is our cultural side, the sister city relationships that use the Rose Festival as that platform to come together, as well as our environmental stewardship.
Thank you. Any further questions for this panel? Commissioner Daly?
Can I make a little request?
Of course.
As a downtown business owner, former downtown business owner that did not particularly benefit from the Rose Festival, but just took the opportunity to take a break from holding events and open late the day of the Rose Festival, I'm going to suggest that we might want to invest in a lot more public restrooms, because that was my main experience of the Rose Festival as a business owner. Other than that, thank you.
And what does this memorandum of understanding say about that? Because, of course, Commissioner Randy Leonard, who was the liaison to the Rose Festival, famously had the restroom duct tape resolution way back when, in my first term. So
That's right.
Does this resolution address that? As to
Not directly. No, that's not directly. Those items tend to come up on a other document basis, on a year-to-year cases, whether there's city support in that. But this document does not address specific number of porta potties. It addresses the context of how we work together, how we use the resources of PBOT and parks, and what we invest and what the city invests, but it doesn't cover specifically that topic.
When I served on the duct tape committee, which I think was before I got on the council, it came with a promise that there would be more city-funded porta potties. So I know over time it's been back and forth as to how many and who's paying for them, and that's important.
Yeah, and absolutely. I take up for the record that is a topic, an ongoing discussion we want to continue to have with our liaison and council, because that's a topic that the funding has been eroded from that original intent from that task force. And so we want to continue to talk about that.
Very good. Any further questions for this panel? Carla, do we have anybody signed up for public testimony on the memorandum of understanding?
Yes, we have 8 people signed up.
Very good.
The first 3, please come
Thank you,
on
Jen.
up, are Mimi German, Cameron Stark, and Nancy Newell.
Good morning.
Morning. My name is Mimi German, and should I wait for more people to come in so that this is an actual quorum?
No, you can continue. We just can't take the vote without the quorum.
We don't have a quorum. Oh, here's Commissioner Salzman. Thank you.
My issue, is this mic on? Thank you. My issue with the Rose Festival isn't the Rose Festival itself. My issue is Fleet Week. And if we can sit here and talk sanely about the need for more porta potties, which is a necessity, I think that we can honestly have a conversation now about if Portland is this city that we all love and we're all trying to do best by, especially in this time of Trump, why are we still including Fleet Week warships in our river to glorify war, which is what they do, because every year the news gets on, all the media says, hey, families, come take your kids out to show them all these warships, because it's great. We need to rethink what it is we're doing when we talk about making Portland the place that we believe it is. I personally do not believe that we should be glorifying war, especially in Portland. So I wanted to have my testimony be that the people and planners of the Rose Festival defund Fleet Week completely. You can use all that money for 10,000 porta potties. You can use that money to support the peace efforts, the anti-Trump efforts that we seriously need to be doing rather than boosting up internal security here against protesters, which is, again, what Trump is busy doing, and have a new look at where we are right now in this time of 2017, in this era of Trump in our city. So my request is to be taken seriously, that we start to defund Fleet Week. Now, I know that that can't happen for this summer, but I think that this is something that needs to get looked at. Why are we in any way, shape, or form glorifying war and warships in this city? It's insane. It's my testimony.
Thank you. Good morning.
My name is Cameron Stark, and I'm a resident of Portland. I want to back up what Mimi said about defunding Fleet Week. I have to say that the Rose Festival does not bond families. Those ships bomb families, is what they do, okay? So it does not send a very good message to the people of our country and to the outlook of our values in Portland, Oregon, when we have these massive warships sitting outside a big festival where it's supposed to be the pride of our city. That's just it's egregious and it's insane that we think that that's appropriate, that we normalize war and bombs, and it's just terrible. I understand that it brings, the Rose Festival brings, a whole bunch of money to the city, but it can be done in a more appropriate way that doesn't include the slaughter of innocent people, okay? Bombs are not what we want to be reflected on. We do not support that. I know as a whole, we don't support war out here. I know the Democrats are probably out there voting for, to go to war with Syria, but the people of America do not support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Newell, and I also agree that having the military and the Fleet Week is the wrong message. And we have the only university in the country that offers peaceful conflict resolution certificates in a master's program, and we don't honor that program or advertise that program, which our city stands for in as many ways as possible. The military budget is now 60% of our entire budget. We are causing havoc, environmental havoc, in our country, all over the world. We're sending students into the military because they're not getting jobs in other sectors, because so much of the money is going into that element of destruction. I understand that you're trying to honor the people that provide service, but warships definitely are a terrible message, and especially because their pollution rate is the highest in the world, and their fuel use rate is extremely high. And here we are, a city that's trying to lead everybody else into other answers, and we're promoting this kind of honoring of something that is totally against our principles. And it doesn't make any sense. And we have so much better use of money in this community, and many people that would come out on a peaceful conflict resolution parade. And although it's very popular, that's the problem. We're now dropping massive bombs with a crazy president in Afghanistan. What do you think that's going to do to the security of this part of the world, where we speak out against war particularly? Do you think with a nuclear power plant operating on the river and the nuclear storage that we're not a major target? I think we are putting our own people into a form of almost panic because of the nature of the dangers of the existence of citizenship today. And our message should be continually, this is not appropriate. We believe that other answers, war is never the answer. That kind of emphasis on total destruction is horribly an answer. And I think we can be stronger about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next three, please.
Are Star Stoffer, Charles Bridge Crane Johnson, and Teresa Rayford.
Morning.
Good morning. Star Stoffer. I'm going to go ahead and back up what they said about Fleet Week. We need to defund that. And I'm quite frankly don't really see why we can't park those huge, disgusting things somewhere else this summer. I mean, considering the obvious lack of diversity in the Rose Festival right back here, and the lack of diversity on this council, and the lack of diversity in the Portland Police, the lack of diversity in our military, the fact that we're bombing people who are, I don't know, innocent just because they happen to be brown or worship something different than what we're used to. Do you not want any marginalized community members to attend the Rose Festival at all? Just white people? Because when you have Portland police officers walking around and military men walking around and warships parked right outside, I don't know how anybody who is Muslim, black, a refugee, immigration status is supposed to feel safe. How are they supposed to partake in this wonderful community event that, by the way, it's not a gift when you eliminate all of those people from being able to enjoy it? What is this? This is like some white supremacist circle jerk. Are you kidding me with this? Really? Warships? Police? Do you guys have any indication of what's going on in the world around you? We are aware that 11,000 people were bombed by us last week, right? I mean, we haven't forgotten that. We are not forgetting that people of color are being gunned down in the street because they weren't lucky enough to be born white. But hey, let's sit here and talk about a mayor that's been dead for God knows how long and honor this one more white man. God forbid another white man not go without honor. Thank God for him. What's he doing today? Who cares about that right now? How's that relevant today? I mean, we have a president who doesn't even know which Martin Luther King is dead and which one the day was for and this and that. Are we serious right now? Warships, police, military men do not communicate safety. So, I don't know. I won't be partaking. I'll probably be protesting. Because screw your festival. It ain't a gift to me. It ain't a gift to my friends. It ain't a gift to our marginalized community members. I don't care what he did for women. What good does that do me now? What good does that do her? What good does it do all the people that are hiding out right now because they're afraid of being picked up and shipped off because they don't belong? You know what, white people? You don't belong here either, just so you know.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you go back to where you came from?
Oh, yeah. Please.
If we're going to honor somebody, why don't you honor Native Americans who, by the way, have nothing to do with the Rose Festival?
Oh, yeah.
You did steal the land from them.
Oh, yeah.
Don't sit here and park ships on their rivers and try to tell them it's a gift.
Thank you.
Shame. No, you're not welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Charles' turn.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Most likely, no person of color, no black resident of Portland has spoken yet today. So if Ms. Rayford's ready to go, I would like to have her.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Thanks. My name's Charles Bridge Crane Johnson. And so, you know, I kind of grew up all that white privilege entrenched in white media. So I'll read you something from the white media. From Rose Festival Court to death on frozen streets. Karen Batts, lonely struggle. There's another headline that comes up, says that a few months before the publicly co-financed nonprofit that evicted her sent her to her death, she was on a police-connected mental health hold. So I look forward to the Rose Festival Foundation next year coming back with a big commemoration for the late, great Karen Batts.
She was one of yours.
And
honor her.
maybe we'll even get that in this year. So the women and men that spoke before me adequately, well, there's so much to say about Fleet Week and the military-industrial complex. You know, it's changed a lot. Ms. Rayford's presence up here reminds me that before we got rid of the draft, the military-industrial complex was used as a genocidal execution machine to get black African-American males to go die in Vietnam. And even now, regardless of a veteran's race, but probably almost certainly worse for black veterans, they have a hard time getting the essential services they were essentially lied to and deceived about to take their low-paying jobs where they may or may not have got skills that ready them for the workforce. So I think that as a city that talks some high aspirations, when we have the Rose Festival coming in Fleet Week, even though we think we've housed all of our homeless veterans, it's a great chance for us to review how well we are serving people who have gotten into that boondoggle of serve your country and then either die or get out and don't have your country serve you. So it's okay to have little parties and stuff where we try and find equitable goodness. When there's just been goodness that benefited white men, we don't really need to have a party about that. That's pretty much 365 days a year. So
Every day is White Man
I
Day.
hope that also, a lot of times when we have issues come before this council, we try and apply an equity lens and talk about minority businesses, women-led businesses.
Minor priorities.
But I haven't heard any syncretism between that and the Rose Festival. So I know that upon reflection of that, we'll redouble our efforts. Thanks.
Thank you. Next.
All right, so for the record,
Oh,
my
I'm
name
sorry,
is...
Teresa.
Okay, for the record, my name is Teresa Rayford. I'm a native Oregonian. My great-great-grandmother was born here in McMinnville, Oregon, and my great-grandmother was raised in Portland, Oregon. She lived in Southwest off of 2nd. We are the Roses. Now, while we continue to proclaim and to celebrate white supremacy and the leaders in this state and the leaders in the city of Portland, mayors that have put in policies and mandates that continue to support state-sanctioned discrimination, I would hope that we would come to a point where we would recognize that in empowering white supremacy, that on this day, last year, I was actually next door at Multnomah County on trial for protesting. And 1 year later, progressiveness, which Mr. Lang was noted for, does not exist here because today it's illegal to protest in City Hall, correct? Is it illegal to protest in City Hall?
City Hall is actually a public space.
Right, but is it illegal to protest in here as of today?
I could ask the attorney.
Okay, so
We all
attorney,
passed the
I'm sorry.
ordinance.
So I believe that it's illegal to protest in here because when I came in, I was stopped by guards, and when I walked up here to come into the chambers, I was told that it was filled to capacity, including the balcony, and that I could be moved into a room across the hall where I could watch this on a streaming live TV set, right? I didn't get it either because some of my comrades that came in after me were actually sitting in city council chambers when I took my grievance up to the mayor's office with the students that I came here with so that they could file a minute, an appointment with you. Hopefully you'll do that. But again, when we go back to the Rose Festival and we talk about we are the Roses and we're talking about our most vulnerable citizens, the ones who are usually swept away so that we can have Fleet Week, thank you guys for opening up Schleifer right in time to make sure that you guys don't have that type of embarrassment this year when you sweep our comrades off the street. That's not a long-term opportunity, but I hope that you guys look into more developmental partners that might change some of the building infrastructure that's here, and instead of demolishing them, that they do rehab and restoration like Restore Oregon did. Remember? Okay, so thank you guys again, and I'll be testifying on other matters, but we are the Roses.
Thank you. Next three, please.
Feel free to come pitch a tent with Ibrahim Mubarak, who's also been arrested in the city.
The last two are Steve Entwistle Sr. and Sam Resnick.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, City Commissioners. My name is Sam Resnick. I'm a citizen of the City of Portland, and I would like to propose a change to the proclamation of Mayor Harry Lane Day. I would like to propose that the day be changed to Kif Davis Day.
I'm actually sorry. This isn't regarding the proclamation is done. This is the MOU. No, it's actually not. This is regarding the MOU.
I understand, but
Proclamation
this is,
done.
as you can see, it says agenda item 373 and 374. I'm
This is
testifying on
item
agenda item
374.
373.
This
We're
is
still
item
on agenda item
374.
373, so.
We are not.
Well, this is wasting my time, so I could I have my clock
I will give
reset,
you
please?
extra time, but please stick to the MOU. Thank you.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm not going to pass.
Very good. Is there any other public testimony? Hearing none, call the roll.
Fish.
I want to thank the Rose Festival and
Excuse me, this is a disruption in violation of city council rules. If you do it again, you will be asked to leave. And if you, are you going to testify?
No, I'm just going to sit here.
You get 3 minutes to sit there.
Okay. Well, let's have 3 minutes of silence for Qantas Hayes.
Can we do it for Freddie Gray, Sam?
Yeah, I'd like to have 3 minutes of silence for Freddie Gray, 3 minutes of silence for Qantas Hayes.
Folks, no, this is not related to that. This is related to the MOU, and council rules are very clear. The testimony is related to the item under discussion. And if you're not going to speak to the item under discussion,
Ted, it's
I'm
very
gonna ask
rude
you
to speak
leave.
during a moment of silence for someone who was murdered by your police
It's very rude for you to
force.
violate council policies and disrupt everybody else's opportunity to speak. Sir, can you ask him to leave, please?
I heard him. He speaks English just like I do. I don't need you to come back and.
Sir,
Okay.
security, hello? Greetings, yes, he is violating council rules. Can you please ask him to leave?
But you can't tell the people if it's illegal to protest and stay home. You're a maggot. You're a fucking cunt stain. Fuck you, Ted Wiener. You're a little bitch, and so is your wife. Yeah, stand here. Oh, I got this. No, they're not taking me to jail.
Folks, we're going to have to take a brief recess, so we're clearing the chambers. I'm sorry, we're going to clear the chambers for about 5 minutes, and we'll be back. Sorry for the disruption. We're back.
Mayor,
Sorry, Commissioner.
So I was in the middle of casting a vote, and thank you, Mayor. And again, I want to close by thanking Jeff Curtis, the Rose Festival.
I'm sorry, legal counsel's raising a flag here. That's correct.
Oh, that's right. Wait.
Okay.
Liam, could you go ask Commissioner Fritz to join us?
Lindley, was your mic working? It didn't seem very loud. Is it green? Oh, sorry, go ahead, try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Well, that notwithstanding, but this is now controlled, the screening downstairs with the other thing. And here's the other thing. We're not in council right now.
We're not. But I'm glad you're paying attention to council rules.
Bill O'Reilly leaving Fox News.
He's leaving? Good.
Well, I mean, he's not.
With a $50 million severance package?
Oh, wow.
Or $100 million, or whatever we can give.
All right. When did that happen? Morning?
Today, the news is like 3 hours.
Thank you.
Okay, but we're not actually in session.
All right, we have our quorum. We have our quorum, so we are now back in session. Commissioner Fish.
So, Mayor, again, I just want to thank our friends at the Rose Festival, and particularly Jeff Curtis, the leader, for a wonderful partnership. In executing the MOU today, we are signaling an even stronger relationship between our official festival and City Hall. And it is an honor to be the liaison to the Rose Festival, and we're looking for many good things for years to come. So thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. Aye.
Saltzman?
Thank you, Rose Festival Association.
Udaly?
I think members of the public brought up some valid points that we need to consider in the future. This MOA certainly doesn't preclude those conversations, and I look forward to further discussions with the Rose Festival and my colleagues. Aye.
Fritz? Yes, so it was unfortunate we had the disruption because I was going to ask for some more information about the funding of Fleet Week. And obviously we can continue to have those conversations, and also about safety for people coming downtown during the festival, and the potential impact of the staff on the ships interacting with folks on land. And I know that the festival has been working on that. I'm particularly proud of having sponsored the resolution with Mayor Adams and Commissioner Randy Leonard, one of the few that I can remember that I sponsored with those two members of the 2010 council, to make it the official festival of Portland. And I appreciate Commissioner Fish's work on the memorandum of understanding, and also the conversation that there's still some things that are not completely tied down, so that's good. We will continue to work. I very much appreciate the economic impact of the festival, also the efforts of the festival to diversify participants, particularly on the Rose Court, and that's that's one of my favourite programmes of the festival, because it's not a beauty pageant, it's not just for show. The young women who are selected generally have absolutely phenomenal academic records. There's a participatory way to have them nominated to the court, and they're given a business mentor and a lot of training on things that will serve them well in whatever they choose to do in the rest of their life. So it's really a leadership training, as well as acknowledging the leaders they've already been in their particular high schools. And so I look forward to all of the events this year, and thank you very much. Aye.
Wheeler.
I very much support the Rose Festival folks coming in today. I want to appreciate the work that went into the MOU. It was a long process, and it is, of course, a living document, which means it is always subject to change at the request of the council, at the request of the Rose Festival, and I want to appreciate their efforts, particularly those who volunteer their time and their talent to help support these efforts in the city. So I vote aye. The ordinance is passed. Before we move to the first item that was pulled, item 376, I've been asked to reread the statement of conduct. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to get to the portions that people may have missed the first time. People may sign up for public testimony on the first readings of reports, resolutions, and ordinances. If you sign up, your testimony must address the matter that's being considered at the time. Conduct that disrupts the meeting, for example, shouting or interrupting others' testimony or interrupting during council deliberations, is not allowed. People who disrupt meeting face ejection from the meeting. If there's a disruption, I'll issue a warning that if any further disruption occurs, anyone who's disrupting the meeting will be subjected to ejection for the remainder of the meeting. Anyone who fails to leave the meeting after being ejected will be subject to arrest for trespass. Please call the next item.
Okay, sorry, thank you. 376, authorize a grant agreement to accept $25,000 from Drive Oregon Foundation to support low-cost air quality sensor work and air quality sensor project in the Powell Division Corridor.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Martin. I'm with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. I manage the Smart Cities team there, as well as supporting smart cities work across the city.
Your microphone's not on.
Sorry. Should I repeat myself, or
Yes,
did you all
please.
get that? Okay. My name is Kevin Martin. I'm with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. I manage the Smart Cities team there, as well as supporting bureaus across the city with their Smart Cities work. I'm here with Christine Kendrick, who's on the BPS Smart Cities team and leading a national conversation around the design, deployment, and evaluation of low-cost, real-time, internet-connected air quality sensors, which we're about to start piloting here in Portland. Christine will give a quick overview of the project referenced in item 376.
Morning, almost
Morning.
afternoon, Mayor, City Commissioners. The funds in this ordinance are to support an ongoing project being led by the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. It's a project funded by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, where we are going to be deploying 3 different types of lower cost air quality sensors that are connected at signalized intersections. The idea and goals of this project are to understand how this technology can be used to increase the density of air quality measurements for the city of Portland, to understand how we can use these technologies to better understand the changes in air quality and climate as a result of other City of Portland projects. And the goals of these funds are also to develop a community engagement plan about how to share the data, how would we expand to other locations past this pilot project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for
So was this pulled just to tell people about it?
I'm not
Mr.
sure why
Lightning
was
pulled it.
Okay, very good. Any public testimony on this item?
Mr. Bridgecrane wants to testify.
Very good. Come on up, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Charles Bridgecrane Johnson. And thank you. I hope that the city will take this very seriously. We know that the state, by some reports, is facing a $1.6 billion revenue shortfall. It's no bueno for the Department of Environmental Quality. Many of us have severe doubts and concerns about the Department of Environmental Quality. So I think that it's actually incumbent upon you commissioners, perhaps with a little kick in the keister from the public, to talk about new air quality public health safety structure. So this is a good start, but I hope you'll be positioned to move quickly. It's the technology that's here should be cost effective to place in all the neighborhood community centers, and we could always wish that when our tax dollars go to Washington and come back, or go to Salem and come back, that we can do good with them when they come back. But we're learning, at least for the next 4 years, that we really sometimes have to seize the initiative like we've done with the biogas project. And so I hope that all of you, regardless of how it matches with your portfolio as commissioners, will look at this project, and even if you only think about your home neighborhood, because God knows we want clean air around your house, Ted, if we ever have to come visit you again. So with the crisis we've had with the DEQ, the fact that it was the United States Forest Service, almost independent work studying moss, that led us to learn about the toxins from glass plants in our city. This is a great opportunity for city leadership on an even smaller micro-community scale to let people participate in and be engaged with what's killing us in our area. Because there are things, we've failed on the state level to deal with diesel particulates as far as banning, but we can at least know and develop an open data network that affirms where the problem is the worst and see what action can be taken on the municipal government level. Thank you.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Fish. Aye. Saltzman. Aye. Udaley.
Aye.
Fritz.
Thank you for the presentation and for your good work. Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye, the ordinance is adopted. Next item, please.
Item 381, authorize Chief of Police to sign lease agreements of real property for Police Bureau criminal investigation needs.
Good morning. Almost. Name for
Thank
the
you,
record,
Mayor
please.
and Council. My name is Dave Hendry. I'm a commander with the Portland Police Bureau in the Detective Division, and today we're bringing forth an ordinance that would allow the Chief of Police to sign lease agreements for real property in the city. How this came about is my recent move in, I guess would be July of this year, into the Detective Division, looking at some of the ongoing long-term cases, criminal cases that we had. I started reviewing the need to actually have long-term ability to lease real property for confidential investigations that are going forth. And then upon reviewing it, I thought we had the authority to do that, and I realized, no, we do not have the authority to do that, and it runs through a very kind of an arduous task to get it approved, and it has to be approved outside of our bureau chain, which in our confidential investigations brought some concerns to light, namely in any investigation, you try to keep the investigation and those who know about the facts of it fairly well contained in order to keep the confidentiality of it and the integrity of the investigation. And in this case, in reviewing what would happen, it would leave our office and obviously fall through and ultimately be signed off through multiple folks, including the Director of Internal Business Services. And so we decided that we would like to put forth an ordinance that would allow the Chief of Police to be able to do that and keep it in-house, protects the confidentiality, and the need for the long-term lease. There's a timeliness factor there with our investigations when we need to have a place to put something up. Sometimes it's immediate. And there's also considerable cost savings in the long term, as we're well aware with the markets here for housing and for retail space, that the ability to actually have a lease agreement saves the city a considerable amount of money, specifically our bureau, versus doing daily or weekly rates for rentals. So that's the sum of why we're here today.
Thank you. Questions? Any public testimony on this item, Carla?
Yes, we have 15 people signed up. The first three, please come on up, are Mimi Gurman, Cameron Stark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Lightning, he's left. Let's go with Nancy Newell then.
Cameron, you want to start?
Sure.
One moment. So how are you guys?
I've got.
Okay, we're going to lose our quorum, so can I ask people to please be, and I'm really sorry about this. I don't like limiting public testimony, but again, we had a disruption, so we're way off schedule.
Wow.
Can we please limit to 2 minutes? Thank you.
Oh.
All right. My name is Cameron Stark, and I'm a resident of Portland, Oregon. I don't agree that we should be giving police informants maybe even a hotel room to stay in under these leasing, this leasing agreement. I think that given the relationship that the Portland police have with informants and that they have with the community in the past, and I mean, we were just talking about last week how that there's a lack of accountability in the Portland police system. How are we sure that some of these officers in these projects aren't sexually exploiting these informants? I mean, there is a huge compiling evidence that they do, these horrible things. Some of the Oregon Democrats, I know that Terry Bean, and I know some of his victims personally, were sexually exploited by the state of Oregon. So I think that these leasing agreements make those easier for the Portland police and whatever other jurisdictions of law enforcement that you're trying to, implement with this. It's a dangerous precedent that you can set forth. I think that it's not safe. Messing with informants in the first place is just egregious. I used to live in Seattle, Washington, and an officer up there told me that they lock their criminals up in Washington. Okay, that means that here in Oregon, we don't lock our criminals up, we use them as informants. That's what those kids with the ankle monitors are doing. That is not safe. When it comes to community safety, that should be the #1 concern and priority. And if you have informants staying in apartment complexes like the Columbia Villa or the St. John's Woods or something like that, that it creates dangerous, it's a dangerous precedent. And I don't agree with it. I don't think that it's safe, and I don't think that it's morally right to even use informants in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. Oh, no, you go. I agree with what Cameron said. The best way for me to express myself at this point, I've said this a couple of council sessions ago, is through poetry, because this back and forth conversing in minutes it's too hard to say what I want to say, and this is specific to this issue. I wrote a poem for today, and it's called Crayola in Shades of White. Mayor, may I challenge you to a duel with no guns or informants, or tasers, or flashbangs, or billy clubs. No tear gas, no pepper spray, no nerve gas at all. No bike cops, no riot cops, no cops at all. No checks or credit cards, no money at all. This duel is a shakedown of ideas, using words like seeds, sown into hillsides, growing truths instead of flowers, compassion instead of stones, where uninhabited promises and blue blood debauchery are surely a recipe to lose this battle, this duel to end the uninspired, anemic protocol, this business as usual, and the perverse standardized norm of unconstitutionality, which paints this town in Caucasian white, straight out of the Crayola crayon box, where politicians are almond or peach or KKK or desert sand, suffocating our kids along with a reserve bottle of privilege circa long, long ago, because white wealth creates ill health, shitstorms, Mayor, for the less than white, mostly, and dollars in the pockets of cops, of jailers, of hangmen on LRAD, of mayors like you, Mr. Wheeler. This duel is about now, because if there is a later, it is indiscernible. So let us duel in truths known to the downtrodden, not the rich, in truths met on the streets, atop sewer gutters where steam is the only warmth, for a truth so cold it killed 6 or 7 or 100 this winter in our little hamlet of lily white dreams, for white homeowners angered by homeless people bothering them for change. I challenge you, Mayor, to a duel of truth. Will you meet me in the streets?
Thank you.
My name is Nancy Newell. Oh, thank you. My name is Nancy Newell, and I'm really opposed to this because it shouldn't be even on the agenda. It's not constitutional. It is making the police judge and jury. They take the power of being judge and jury. Ever since COAB has been collapsed, and you were in favor of that idea, and actually told us that you didn't think it had any function whatsoever, the police have become very aggressive on taking away the rights of individual citizens. And it's been proven. And it will be proven in this case as well. And it wastes a lot of our time. Instead of facing the issues that originally came up from a federal judge and is still in process, where the mentally ill are being killed in this city. And a third one happened not too long ago. So let's get back to the base of the issue. The community voices have been tremendous. We have a county commissioner who was part of that process, trying to work with her budget, the largest in the county, to help the mentally ill situation. And let's get off this track of the police insisting that they're the only judge and jury in this town. This town is not allowed to become a town like that. We are not going to allow it. And I don't know why they want to spend all this money for a building when they're not even upholding the Constitution or the law. Why would we give them a building to hide all the people that are innocent? That's terrible. What an indicator of our chief's mental state. I think you better have him checked. And I'm serious about that. He is not making sense at all. He is not talking about humanity. He's talking about an orderly situation, which we know about under Hitler. And we don't care for that kind of policy. And we don't want that kind of policy. And we will stand our ground every time. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next three are Star Stauffer, Charles Bridgecrane Johnson, and Teresa Rayford.
I'm Star Stauffer. I'm really confused. I don't know why the Portland police need more stuff. It's like every single week that I come here, the police are asking for more stuff. I thought we were having a housing crisis. I thought we were in the middle of a crisis where we had no place to even house the houseless. And here we've got the police asking for more stuff. What was it, a few weeks ago? Bullets, which you never readdressed. And then it was, before that, the collective bargaining agreement, which they beat the hell out of us to win, and they were successful. And now it's, they want to lease buildings so that they can hide for investigations and so the informants can hide? No. Oh no. We will find these buildings. We will tell everybody where they are. We will release the addresses of these buildings. We will let the neighbors know, whatever it takes to let them know that killers are living next door to them. That child killers are leasing properties next door to them.
Rapists and
Everybody
killers.
who's a sex offender has to let everybody know when they are living next door to people. So I want everybody to know that murderers, racists, Klan leaders, rapists, liars, criminals, and thugs that you sanction on the streets to unleash their fury on people of color, trans people, houseless people, and protesters exercising their rights. I want everybody to know that they are next door. So wherever they lease, we will find out. Wherever they buy, we will find out. And we will tell everybody. And we will make sure that they are not comfortable enacting these investigations behind these closed doors. Not on my dollar. They're not going to get away with it on my dollar. I'm not going to pay for it and not tell everybody what the hell's going on. I don't know what game you guys think you're playing, but not with us. Don't give these fools any more money. I'm sick and tired of watching you shell out money to these criminals. No for the $2 million for bullets, no for the leasing of properties, and they can go to hell with their collective bargaining agreement.
Good afternoon.
You want to follow that up? Okay. Good morning. Good morning, Charles Bridgecrane. I got a green light, so it's going, I guess. Bridgecrane Johnson.
Bridgecrane.
And Ms. Stauffer has really summed up the ethical and moral reasons why you should just vote no. But some people would say those aren't persuasive here, so I'll go with a more pragmatic argument. Look at the page of information you've been given from the police department and try and convince your voters that that was an adequate motivation for you to write. It's apparently a blank check. There's no dollar figure in the piece of paper. I don't know whether, are we going to have a Trump hotel here, and we're going to have people go into the police permanent Trump suite and get the Marion Barry treatment? It's just not practical. You know, inside public housing, there are different views about residents have about interacting with the police. I know people right now in Northwest Towers that would like to have a permanent police presence. You should transfer some money from the police bureau into the housing bureau or Home Forward and give people who are concerned about law breaking and danger there protection, rather than some roaming racket where we're finally going to get the heroin kingpin only if we can lease an apartment in the yard or in the dumbbell or the bridgehead, that Death Star monster thing there. I just think that fiduciary duty requires you to get more clarity from the police bureau that even though they need to have these super top secret addresses, that there can be caps, and you also need to really review the ineffectiveness of previous confidential informants. Confidential informants who would be in Kansas City phoning in their fake leads, like George Taylor. So especially the police commissioner would be wise to advise the rest of the council to not pass this at this time until Marshman, who's just re-gearing up from his little vacation, to provide actual dollar figures, some caps, some floors, and some real outcomes for this mysterious brouhaha measure. That is an interesting replacement for the $2 million of ammunition they're not getting, hopefully.
For the record, my name is Teresa Rayford. I'm a native Oregonian. I am the mother of 2 children. One of those children was born to me when I was 17 years old, and I was living in foster care. His dad was a 27-year-old gang member from California that was working with other informants in our community, which I found out recently after the death of my friend Darren Ezell, who was killed by this murderer, who is now free because our district attorney felt like there might be bigger fish to fry. His name is Vincent White. You can Google him. Him and 2 of his friends murdered my friend, but because they were informants, along with other informants that actually got some of my friends pregnant while they were also in foster care, and used the opportunity to be informants for, I don't know which ones were federal agents and which ones were just gang task force from California working in partnership with Portland Police Bureau. But those informants basically infested our entire community. At the time when gang members came here in the 80s, a lot of us didn't know about gang violence. We still were going to Meyer and Frank's and Nordstrom's and Frederick and Nelson's for our clothes. We were wearing penny loafers. We weren't wearing tennis shoes and Dickies. But after the Portland police and the city of Portland decided that they need to focus on gangs, which they didn't have any, but they created the opportunity. And I believe that with leasing property, you had this informant, gang person, pimp, Eddie, Fast Eddie, who was working with Roy J., who was actually one of the members on the PDC, along with a lot of other black people that you guys are very familiar with, and I know Dan probably knows them too. But those people could be considered informants as well, like Roy J., when he used to pull guns out on people like Ken Berry and Donnie Adair, who was a former employee here at the city of Portland. Back in those days when he was a gangster, before he became a very role model of our community with Project Clean Slate and other gang-related opportunities. I just think you guys need to audit this thought. I think you guys need to think about what could happen to the community, the most vulnerable people, when you allow that type of leasing to happen in our community. I remember when my friend who lives right across the street from Rosemary Anderson, this lady who's been shot twice because her grandson was affected by gangs. She lives on Borthwick. She got shot twice. I remember in the 90s when she said that the police kept coming to her house because they had a camera going right into her kitchen because they were using the house right next door to her. They told her that if she did not sell her house, and we already know lots of the deputized officers from 25 years ago used to be in construction and development, but they told her if she did not sell her house, that they would take her grandson to jail and he would never get out because of Measure 11. I think you guys really need to rethink this, because if the vulnerable children in our community can come infested with gang opportunities, because these informants are usually the ones with the drugs and the guns and all that other stuff, and the motivation for pimping these young girls in these strip clubs and getting the okay from their foster parents, I think you guys might want to think about it. I think we've been saying a lot about it for a very long time, but your stakeholders' voices matter more than ours. Thank you.
Next 3, please.
Next 3 are Chanel Hart, Shayla Franklin, and Alex DeBlasi.
3 people.
Good afternoon.
Y'all can go first. No, y'all can go first. Go ahead.
I do think we would have had more time if we hadn't had that stupid little costume party earlier. But here we are with 2 minutes to go. Maybe next week I can bring in a Chuck Berry impersonator and hog testimony until we get to an important agenda item. So first up, how on earth does this establish or build trust between the community and the police? This has been talked about a lot in the previous weeks, and then along comes this. 2, in the ordinance's impact statement, it says, quote, utilizing leases of real property will have a significant savings to the city on long-term investigations. Despite this, the impact statement says that this will not change appropriations. How is that possible? 3rd, I believe that this is state terrorism, and it's going to create a culture of fear in our community that a house that's for sale, an apartment unit that's up for lease, could very well be inhabited by infiltrators from law enforcement. Kind of reminds me of that Twilight Zone episode, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, where a community is divided in half due to a lack of trust. That you're doing this during a housing crisis is straight up immoral. You should be cracking down on human trafficking. You should be keeping cops in hotels, not going into residential units. That said, I will greet my new neighbors with a plate of cookies and a plate of cheese. And if they go for the cheese first, I'll know where they're coming from. 14 weeks in, Mr. Wheeler, you're no humanitarian. You stole your campaign platforms from the best of your competitors, including Jesse Sponberg, talking about police reform and caring about the homeless. You're showing us that you don't care. And if you won't resign, then maybe we should look into a recall vote. That's all.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Shalva Franklin, and I go to Alliston Middle School, and I just wanted to talk to you about that. I don't like the idea of having cops just parking around because it's really scary for like us people with like colored people because we don't know what to expect. Well, we do know what to expect, but it's just kind of, I don't know, I don't like the idea.
Thank you. Appreciate your being here. Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Chanel Hart, and I just witnessed my mom being arrested, and I still don't understand what she did because you said, well, he said that my mom was trespassing in a public building. You said that this was a public building, so how was she trespassing?
You know, I don't know because I did not see what happened in the
But
hallway.
you said this is a public building, and he said that she was trespassing, so how was she
However,
trespassing?
in the council, as I just read, we have council rules, and everybody in the room needs to abide by the council rules.
I
And
get that, but how was she
I give
trespassing?
ample warning to people, and if they don't comply, then we have to remove them. Believe me, I don't enjoy doing it. I don't like the disruption. I don't like the time and the inconvenience, and I certainly don't like her being arrested. But if people
Neither do
violate
I.
the council rules, that's what we've got going. So
she was
unless you have
violating the rules.
testimony
So she was violating
relevant
the
to
rules,
this
not
issue.
trespassing, right?
You know, I don't even know who your mom
No,
is.
I-
Is she the one who was making comments about my wife on her way out of the
I'm not
chamber?
sure.
Are you gonna discuss that with a child, Ted? Are you gonna discuss that with a child? 'Cause
Well,
did she say anything about your
she's
wife
asking
today?
me a question, and I'm answering
I
her
was
question.
asking-
Grown-up things with children.
Okay.
I was asking why my mom was arrested if she wasn't trespassing.
Okay, I don't know.
Well, maybe you should talk to your security.
Well,
and
listen,
get them
is this,
some-
certainly happy to do that, but is this related to what we're
She
talking
needs to
about?
know how she's gonna get home without a parent.
Thank
You
you.
just made her disabled.
Next three, please.
I have, let's see, Quantis Hayes, Dan Handelman, and Steve Entwistle Sr.
Greetings.
Good morning, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners. I'm Dan Handelman with Portland Cop Watch. And it seems like this ordinance is about officers that can't make a case without entrapment. It seems like if we're having detectives look into cases, they should be able to make a case without lying to the community and posing as other people. And as other people have said, using very limited rental spaces or lease spaces for police work, which could be done in other ways. Also, in terms of accountability, there's nothing in here that says that the commissioner has to sign off on this or approve what's happening. So if there's some kind of shenanigans going on, there's only the police and the police chief are the ones that are saying that this is an okay undercover operation. So I think that it should at least require you as commissioner to have to sign off on these properties if you're going to go through with this. You shouldn't rush things through the council agenda where we're not having long discussions about how it saves money. You can save money by not doing entrapment stings operations at all and using the money in better ways. I just also want to make a quick comment about your new security measures. I understand why you don't want people rushing your dais. I think it would be better for the media, as a member of Flying Focus Video who taped a council meeting here 2 months ago, to move the desk back so the media can tape the faces of people talking, because right now they can only tape people's backs, and they don't think that's very helpful.
Testimony desk back?
Yeah, I think that would help quite a bit. And then I just lastly, I was expecting amendments to the IPR ordinance. I'm hoping that you're going to consider some. We talked about changing supervisory investigations to non-disciplinary complaints and making it so the IPR ordering a investigation when there's a deadly force case. I hope that you will consider those amendments today when you get to that item.
Very good. Commissioner Fish, do you have an amendment?
Mayor, would you like me to take the emergency clause off this ordinance?
Is your microphone on, Commissioner?
Would you?
I would prefer not to. I was going to suggest that we have Officer Henry come back to answer some of the questions that have been offered.
Okay.
Any further public testimony? No. Very good. Come on back.
And Mayor, I have some questions which I'm not sure we want to take the time to look into ask in public today.
Why don't I take the emergency off?
Yes, sir.
Well, what I was going to suggest is we could leave the emergency on, but just carry it over till next week for the vote.
Either way.
Whichever you prefer.
Why don't we just go ahead and carry it over? But did people have questions right now?
We'll have those in the interim.
Okay.
And if I could just tee it up, I guess from you and from the officers, what are the safeguards for the public when there are these undercover assignments? How does the commissioner in charge, the mayor, know about what's going on and give authorization for that? So it's those kinds of questions that I'd like some more information on. Thank you.
Mayor, can I just make a comment that might help clarify a little bit, just very, very briefly? So,
yes.
The ordinance is specific to real property and the leasing thereof. There is language about confidential informants. There's also language about the confidentiality of investigations. What I would like to say, and forgive me for not providing this information earlier, is that we're trying to, I guess the way I look at it is trying to future-proof the organization, and that we have victims of crime, we have witnesses who've seen horrific things that at time cannot be within the city, cannot be where they're at. It's not a safe place. The passage of this ordinance is really at the heart of the matter of what we're trying to be able to do in those cases. There's also parts built into it, absolutely, about the criminal nexus, neighborhoods, drug house complaints, specific to long ongoing investigations of criminality that's happening throughout our city. But I do not want folks to get sidetracked completely on the belief that this is about confidential informants only. The driver of this has been cases that we're working on, long-term investigations that involve serious crime against people in this community, where we need to actually be able to find places for folks to go that are safe. Now, as far as frequency, I think that's another part that should be understood. I have 23 and a half years of a police officer here, doing a lot of those, doing gang investigations, drug investigations, robbery investigations through the city. This is not something that we have to use very often. A long-term strategy, most cases, you can work through in a short amount of time. I'm simply trying to provide access so that when we do have the ability to work a long-term case, that we have to be able to do it in a way that is clear, concise, expedient, safe, and also saves money. If I were to do a long-term lease at a long-term stay location, it may cost me $1,500 a month. If I do a daily rate for somebody, for instance, it could cost me up to $100 a day. And if you do the math on that very quickly, you realize $3,000 versus $1,500. And so that is also part of that, and it's sustainable. Again, very few times we need this type of resource for a long-term investigation. I'm simply trying and asking for the ability to do it when it's necessary.
Commissioner,
Could you?
excuse
could
me,
you
I'm going to ask people, please do not disrupt the questions. Go ahead.
I believe you said earlier that there's a cumbersome process you have to go through in order to do a long-term lease presently.
Correct.
Can you walk me through that?
Well, I'm probably not going to be as good as the people that do it day to day, but what I understand is that the ability to enter into lease agreements through the city has to be approved for by the Director of Internal Business Services, which means it has to go through the Police Bureau chain of command, through their people that do the actual work of the filing of the contracts, et cetera, and then finally signed off. The concern with that is even like again, anytime we have an investigation, the fewer people that know about what that investigation is, the better it is. And for people's safety, and I say that with all seriousness, we try to be very.
Excuse me. Please do not
We
disrupt
try
the
to take that
testimony.
into account for victims and for witnesses, et cetera. So the fewer people that have access and hands-on to that. In the Bureau, we deal with confidentiality, all the time. We're used to that, and it's not uncommon for things, once they leave the building, for folks inadvertently maybe to discuss something that they have no idea of the implications of it, but that could be, heard or listened to by somebody who might have that information and use that in a different way. We have had investigations that have been compromised, and that's always a concern of mine.
Could you give me an estimate of how many of these rentals you might need on an annual basis? I
One.
realize it would vary.
Probably one or two.
And how
like I
many-
said, very, very, very little.
And how many times have investigations been compromised due to having to go through that process?
Commissioner, I can't specifically say they've been compromised by going through a long-term lease process. I can say that we've had several, over my career, obviously, criminal cases that have been compromised because of information that was released either inadvertently or purposely that have compromised investigations.
But not necessarily related to a lease?
No, but as I started looking at the process, the amount of people, the eyes of the email strings, et cetera, of trying to figure out how to do this, it became very aware to me as the in charge of the criminal investigations for the city that a lot of people would have access to this information, and we're trying to eliminate that.
So who has ultimate oversight of how many leases there are and for what purposes they're being used, whether it's for undercover investigation or housing informants or housing victims?
Well, if this ordinance is passed, it would ultimately go to our chief of police. He would be the signer that would allow it. Being that we report to the mayor, I would imagine the mayor would have a say in that. It can be apprised of any of those situations as necessary.
So given the
I'm not
rarity
sure
of
about
these
that,
situations, I'd like somebody to offer up an amendment,
I offer
please.
an amendment, Mayor, that would, excuse me. I would offer an amendment that simply states.
Is your mic on?
Let me pull up the ordinance. I offer an amendment, Mayor, that would be under the now therefore direct sub A. And the amendment is as follows: that the chief of police insert with the approval of the mayor, comma, is authorized to execute lease agreements, blah, blah, blah.
And I'll second that for purposes of discussion. Is there any further discussion on the amendment?
There should be.
Could you call the roll on the amendment, please?
Fish.
Aye.
Udaly.
I have questions and
Excuse
You're
me.
disrupting
Excuse me.
our
Please do
deliberation.
not do that again. I have repeatedly warned you. Please do not do it again, or I will ask you to leave. Thank you.
This is the problem with what is happening in this room. We can't ask more questions of experts and city employees. We can't ask more questions of community members, and we're not being allowed to deliberate. And what that gets you guys is weaker policymaking than we could be delivering. So what I have to say is that I have questions and concerns that can't be addressed today. I'm voting no on the amendment, and I would vote no on this ordinance.
Very good. So are there any further questions for the commander? If not, I'll carry it over. Oh, I'm sorry, of course.
Fritz.
I will vote for the amendment. I'm not ready to vote for the whole thing, so we could either take the emergency off or pass. Probably should do that. But anyway, yes, aye on this amendment. Thank you,
Wheeler.
Commissioner Fish.
Aye. The amendment is adopted. Commissioner, do you want to make another?
This matter now, Mayor, is set over till next week.
That's correct.
So, colleagues, Commissioner Saltzman is now gone and will not be.
Is your
joining
mic
us.
on?
Sorry. Commissioner Saltzman has now left and will not be joining us this afternoon. We've got 5 items that are second readings. I have a conflict I have to go to shortly. May I respectfully propose that we take up the seconds and we hold Commissioner Udall, we hold 382 for the afternoon, and I would suggest we take it up at 3:30 at the end of our afternoon session, and so that would be my request.
I don't have any objection. Does anybody else have any objection to that?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Very good.
I just wanted to clarify, Mayor, your preference is to carry this over as an emergency ordinance or to take the emergency off?
The impact is the same, so let's carry it over as an emergency ordinance. Obviously, the public testimony record is closed on it. We will move 382 off the agenda.
But move it to the afternoon
Correct.
after the 3 o'clock time certain.
That would be great. After the time certain, and with that, Carla, could you take up 383, please?
Accept a grant in the amount of $1 million from Oregon Department of Transportation for the Regional Signal System Concept of Operations and Implementation.
This is a second reading. Call the roll.
Fish.
Aye.
Udaley.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye, the grant's accepted. Next item, please.
384, authorize a purchase order with Pierce Manufacturing, Inc. for the purchase of 3 emergency response apparatus for a total not to exceed amount of $2 million.
This is a second reading. Vote only. Please call the roll.
Fish.
Aye.
Udaley.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye, the purchase order is adopted. Next item, please.
385, amend marijuana business regulations, definition of wholesaler, and use of temporary certificate of occupancy.
Second reading, vote only. Call the roll, please.
Fish.
Aye.
Udaley.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The definition has been changed, or amended, sorry. And next item, please.
386, assess property for sidewalk repair for the Portland Bureau of Transportation.
Call the roll.
Fish.
Aye.
Udaley.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The assessment is adopted. Next item, please.
387, amend independent police review code to revise filing process, investigation, and appeal provisions of complaints complaints of police officer misconduct.
Second reading, vote only. Please call the roll.
Excuse me, at the end of the public hearing, Commissioner Udaley had said that she might be bringing in amendments. I just want to clarify
thank
if
you
you're
for that.
asking for that.
I am actually not asking for that today after receiving a lot of feedback from a variety of people and groups last week. My office reviewed all the testimony, both written and oral, to clarify the ways in which we could suggest meaningful change to the code that meets the needs of the community and our legal mandates. It became clear to us that suggesting changes in a piecemeal fashion may end up doing more harm than good, and I understand that the auditor's office will be bringing these code changes to us over time, but I think it would be beneficial to the council to engage in a broader conversation about the overarching plan and how this plan supports the DOJ settlement, as well as how we can incorporate the recommendations of stakeholder groups. In that light, I will support the changes and amendments as proposed today thus far, but we'll be requesting a work session to get clarity on how to engage moving forward.
Good idea.
I think that IPR has immense potential to be a true asset to the city and the community, and I want to make sure that we as a council understand it completely before making decisions that may or may not help move it in the right direction.
And Mayor, could I please clarify that there was a discussion last week where you and the auditor said that you would convene such a process? So we don't need to put that as a formal amendment.
That's correct.
And indeed-
And the auditor is here, and that's a head nod, yes,
Okay, yes.
that she and I are in agreement on.
And that was in conjunction with considering or reconvening the stakeholders committee. Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
That's in conjunction with reconvening the stakeholders committee, who've been doing some work. They asked for another process to provide further amendments.
I will leave that up to the auditor since this is her code revision, but.
So my concern is that, as I said last week, this is my 9th year on the council. We continually put things off in terms of changes to the independent police review. And a little while ago, we had that appeal at council where for the first time I've been able to see, we actually got a timeline of when things went through the different stages of the review. And my concern is that there's a lot of talk about whether the Citizens Review Committee is responsible for delays and for their process on appeals. The fact of the matter is, at least in that case, that it was not the CRC that delayed things. It didn't get through the process correctly. So I'm very concerned about accountability of the independent police review, because we depend on that in order to be able to have more confidence that investigations internally have been done correctly.
Mayor, may I be heard on this?
Please.
So I appreciate the concerns raised by my colleagues, and I share a number of the concerns. And I have had a meeting with the very able chair of the CRC, who has also shared a number of her concerns. The matter before us addresses the issues that were brought by the auditor. I'm going to second the request made by Commissioner Udaley that we have a work session where we have our key advisors at the table, and I would like to have a comprehensive understanding about what's next, what's the timeline, and an opportunity for my colleagues to raise these questions. I'm not prepared to address them today because I would like the chance to hear from the leadership of those bodies, and I would like to hear from the auditor and the mayor as to how they wish to proceed at a work session.
Thank you for stating the intent of the council. I agree with that.
Thank you.
Very good.
So we'll take a vote.
Call the roll.
Fish?
Mayor and colleagues, I thought the hearing we had on this issue was enormously helpful, and based on the testimony, I was persuaded, along with my colleagues, that we should not change the public comment period to after a vote. And I understand that there have been some issues raised by our legal team about potential risks. I was persuaded that those were outweighed by the public interest in having people have a chance to speak to the CRC. And I also think that the risk can be cured by the CRC chair reading a statement that effectively reminds everybody that anything outside the record is not evidentiary. I do think it's important that people have the chance to speak to the CRC, and this is an issue where we had unanimous testimony, but I particularly appreciated hearing from the chair of the CRC, from Dan Handelman and Copwatch, and a number of other advocates who I think made a very strong case that we should not change this. And so respectfully, I disagree with the auditor on that point, and on balance, I'm going to support this package. Aye.
Udaley?
I agree with Commissioner Fish. Last week's conversation around these amendments was immensely helpful and one of the most productive ones I've gotten to participate in since joining council. While I have deep respect for the auditor's office and I did not take the input of the city attorneys lightly, I'm deferring to the CRC in this matter and supporting their desire to include testimony, public testimony before a ruling. Aye.
Fritz?
I believe we're at a pivotal stage here with what's happening with the Department of Justice and the federal mandates. We need to show that we are going to continue to improve the complaint process and its processing and continue to seek ways to be more open and transparent to the extent possible. So I appreciate the amendments. I certainly appreciated the public testimony, which did make a major change in the policy. Not only did we affirm that public testimony should take placed before the vote, we put it into the code, so it's very clear moving forwards. So this does strengthen the process, and with the work session that's been promised, I hope that we will hear from League of Women Voters of Portland, Portland Cop Watch, and others as far as how do we get past this continually coming back with what are framed as minor changes and don't get to the bigger substantive issues, which have been going at least since 2010. And I want the council to show that we are going to do the right thing and improve the process, whether or not the settlement agreement is being enforced by the Department of Justice. So I know that Mayor Wheeler, that's one of your primary purposes of running for mayor and of taking this huge task on behalf of the city, and I appreciate all the work you do to that end. I'm here to help as much as I can. I also want to thank Christina Nieves on my staff, who goes to many of the community meetings and who has helped me analyse what was being proposed here and what still needs to be fixed after this. Aye.
Wheeler.
I want to thank Auditor Caballero and Constantine, the Director of IPR, for their hard work. And I know the auditors here, and I think Constantine is behind one of these many columns. It's been a long haul, and I think, as my colleagues have said, the work isn't done yet, and I think you'd be the first to admit that this is a process that will continue to be improved over time, and we have lots of different factors coming into play here, different stakeholders, including the Department of Justice, which is not a trivial stakeholder in this overall process. But I really appreciate the conversation we had last week, and the public input I thought was great, and I learned a lot from the conversation that I had with my colleagues. And I feel like, frankly, whereas we might have moved a little bit off of the target set by the auditor and her team, I actually feel like we landed in a really good place. I will take up the challenge put forth by my colleagues to schedule a work session with the stakeholders, but I want to caution us at the same time. IPR is inherently designed to be independent from this city council and independent from the police commissioner, and that is why it is in the auditor's office. So I want to continue that engagement, but I want to do it with full partnership from the director of IPR and from the auditor to make sure that in the process we're not inadvertently usurping that independence. If anything, I'd like to see us err on the side of strengthening that independence. But I think we landed in a really good spot, and I appreciate everybody's efforts on this. So I vote aye, the ordinance is adopted, and we are adjourned until 2 o'clock. See you then.